I can hear that music in the background.
I'm glad you waited till it was recording for you to say that.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the
Hello.
podcast. The podcast ever.
Yeah, that one.
Yes, we are your hosts. I don't know how to read that. I don't know what your name is today.
Me?
Yep.
It's the same as it always is. I am Grigorias.
Okay. Well, welcome to the show, Grigorias.
Thank you. Whoa.
What?
I like that one. That one's good.
Ah! Yeah. That's me today.
Yo, okay, that makes
later.
sense. And the frogs?
Yes. They're putting shit in the waters, turning the frogs gay.
Can't forget about the frogs.
No. Rest in peace, frogs. Okay. So, Gregory, how was your weekend?
It was a mighty eventful weekend, I'll tell you that much. A lot of events happening on the weekend. Muchos actividades. That's definitely not the right word, but actividades? Yeah. Muchos of those. It was an experience. So basically, if I'm just gonna jump right into it, like head first.
Pause.
Hold on, pause. If I'm going to jump into it, feet first. There we go. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I'm a wee bit tired, lads, but we're going.
This guy's not getting the right amount of sunlight, folks.
I am not. It's a real shame, especially considering where I live. It's just been too cold to go outside, man.
Me on the other hand, I was just in the sun for like 10, 15 minutes earlier, and that wasn't even the only sun I got today. I just did that before this. I mean, I got sun right in the morning too.
What, you mean like you went out of your way to just go outside and sit there for 10 to 15 minutes?
No, I walk around, but I do it every morning and every afternoon and every evening.
Like, just aimlessly?
Well, I just go around. You know, there's patches of grass I can walk through. I have a similar route a lot of days, but sometimes I go off it.
You know, I'm trying to think back of when I used to walk in the sun for 5 hours, if my sleep was any better. I don't recall, because that was also the time when sleep was at a maximum negative. Although I'm kind of at the same area, but for different reasons. So I don't know. Maybe it's not the sun. Maybe it's something else.
Well, it's the time you're going to bed.
I mean, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, you know, if you're going to bed like right before sunrise and then waking up mid-afternoon, yeah, your production of what's going on inside of your body is going to be different than somebody who's actually getting sleep at the right times. I don't know. Are you getting a lot of blue light before you go to bed? Like, are you looking at your screens a lot?
Yes.
Well, that's a problem too. That's going to keep you up, and you need to put these like filters on if you have like a phone or computer. Did you?
Yeah.
But what you should also do, and you're probably not thinking about this because I only recently started doing this, but the lights within your house are actually blue light, and they're causing you as well to stay up. So what I did is in both my rooms, I have two different rooms I like hang out in at night, like my bedroom, and then I have like a little office. I replaced the lights in there with red light, like these red light lamps, or I mean, I got the bulbs and I just put them in my lamps. But basically, no blue light enters those rooms after sunset. Like everything is like filtered as far as the screens go. There's only like these, you know, these red lights. I'm not really getting much blue light other than when I'm in the kitchen at night.
I mean, all I have in my room is like a lamp and it's yellow light. You're saying there's still blue light in that?
No, yeah, that is blue light. It's not the fact that it's like blue that makes it blue light, but it's within the wavelength of what it's emitting. And it's basically the kind of light that you would take in really only naturally during the day. So basically this artificial increase of that is actually keeping you up because it's making your body think it's still daytime. And so the red light is outside of that wavelength. Basically, I'm not taking in blue light when I'm in those rooms. And so it is a lot easier to go to bed at night.
So if that's the case, would it not be true that like if I was an old timey living on the edge kind of guy and I used a candle at night, it would be the same thing? It would still be blue light?
No, not necessarily, because I mean, you're also not getting as much light when you're using candles. So I don't necessarily know where candles lie within the wavelength, but at the same time, like you're really not getting that same amount of light that you are as if it's daytime. Like there is still a big decrease of the light within the room.
That's fair. I mean, to be fair, my lamp is pretty dim. My room is like, it's not dark, but it's like when you go to any restaurant where you buy a dish and it's over $30, so they think it's cool to have the price or the lighting like very dim. It's almost like that, like a little bit higher than that because my room isn't that big. But I went to the eye doctor a few months ago and I asked them, hey, is this blue light good for you? If I put like this thing on my screen, is this going to do anything? And they basically said, yeah, that's probably not doing much of anything. Now, I don't know how much of that is them just being, yeah, the research doesn't seem to support that, or, buy our special lenses or whatever,
Yeah.
Because it's like an eye doctor plus like a glasses, like lens shop or whatever.
Wait, so you're saying they said like basically putting the filters on the screens doesn't help?
It's, from what I recall, they said it didn't not do anything. Like it's doing something, but the amount of they didn't really give me like a concrete answer, to be fair, but they basically leaned on the fact like, yeah, that's probably not enough, essentially.
Well, so I mean, you're still like, okay, so assuming you put those filters on, but you're also having like an actual light on, which is emitting blue light. Yeah, like you're still going to be negatively affected because your room is still surrounded with all this like light that that is hitting you anyway. If you have those filters on, it will help. I would say it's better to reduce the amount of screen usage you would use at night during the day versus during the day, because I know even last night I was on my computer for a while, and even though I have the filter, I do feel like it kept me up a little bit longer. I was doing like an activity with friends online, but it did make me feel kind of like, yeah, I am still taking in a certain amount of light that is keeping me up a little bit longer than I normally would be. I kind of I think I only went to bed like an hour late, but still, it was like, I'm like, wait, why am I not as tired as I usually am? And it might have also been the fact that my brain was more active just because I was talking to them and we were doing stuff together, and it wasn't like just me on my phone or me like just reading something where I would just kind of be in less of an active state.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I could like turn up the how it's like a slider, like the amount of yellow or whatever on the screen. I could like turn that all the way up. I think I have it all the way up actually, and see if that makes any
during
more
the
of a
day it doesn't
difference.
matter, but it is good to put it on so that it starts filtering as you get into the night. I know, I mean, like I'm pretty sure any phone can do this that's a smartphone, but you can basically set it to like start after sunset.
Yeah, I have it to start at 4
p.m.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 4
It's like
a.m.
I need to know which one it is, because at this point it could be either.
Yeah. Or wait, is it on now?
I mean,
No.
it really doesn't need to be on during the day. But what did you do this past weekend? Now that you maybe have gotten yourself into the zone of talking now versus before when you were a little tired and out of it.
Like, I'll tell you what it is. Hold on. Before I get into it. It's like, that feeling when you wake up too early and your eyes, like your eyelids feel like a little sore. It feels like that.
That is not good for
Yeah.
2:36 in the afternoon.
Listen, there was one time I had that and I ate like it was either fruit or beef, and then it just kind of went away. So maybe I just got to eat lunch and it'll go away.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure if you eat some more sugar, it actually help.
Yeah, I didn't have a very high sugar breakfast.
Like fructose.
Yeah, but anyway,
I've been doing the thing where like I'll just eat like mostly simple sugars until dinner, and then that's when I have like my main intake of protein and fat, and I feel fine.
Yeah, I was kind of doing that, but I don't want to get rid of protein entirely for my lunch and breakfast because it tastes good.
I today for breakfast had kiwis, 2 kiwis that I like. They were pretty big kiwis, but I like they were also like these like sun kiwis. I don't know, they're like yellow. I peeled them. Pretty much you just scoop them out. It's pretty easy. I put sugar, like cane sugar on top of that. Like a decent amount, like liberal amount of cane sugar on top of these kiwis. I had
a liberal amount.
I had orange juice. Well, I don't know. A liberal? Like, are you saying like because it's leftist, or are you saying the sound of it, or are you just saying because it's like a lot of sugar?
The former.
Okay. I wasn't sure. But yeah, no, I put a decent amount of cane sugar on there. I wouldn't necessarily say I like just cover them in it, but I put a little like more than a tablespoon. It's like I just start like dousing them in it. And I had orange juice, and then I had like orange juice concentrate as well. I had a little bit of milk, but it was mostly that stuff. And I mean, the orange juice concentrate, like a can of it has like, like 600 calories total. I didn't eat like a whole thing of that for breakfast, but I did eat some more in the afternoon as well. I had some like rice, had coconut water, maple syrup in it. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been eating today.
I like how you said in the afternoon as well, as if it's not the afternoon right now.
Well, I'm saying I ate some in the morning, and then, currently, like before this in the afternoon. Once the afternoon started, I had some. Okay. But anyway, most of what I've eaten today is sugar, and I feel fine.
It's just making me aware of the fact that I have like a really late start, even on an earlier day. This is an earlier day for me.
Yeah, this is getting up early.
Yeah. This is
the you get up?
Dream though. So here's what happens. I am like a white girl when I wake up, where I wake up, consider getting out of bed for like 30 minutes before falling back asleep, then wake up again, look at the time and think, okay, I need to get up at this point. But then I spend another 30 to 45 minutes on my phone preparing myself to get out of bed.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a little bit guilty of that. Not exactly, but like the being on the phone for a little bit before getting up. But I do get up within like 15 minutes to a half hour of actually waking.
Yeah, I need to get...
It's really not good to like stay like an hour in bed, awake.
Listen, I was doing it a lot before, like 2 weeks ago when I was it totally failed too. Not last week, but the week beforehand, I was getting up at like 10, 11, which isn't even that early for like most people, but by my standards, it's like ridiculously early. And I was just kind of dealing with the consequences of the fact that I couldn't fall asleep earlier. So I was actually like sleep deprived while I was doing it. So I actually had an excuse to kind of do it, but I still minimized it to like at most like 30 minutes.
Yeah, you just need to start going to bed. Like I've told you about this before, but you don't even put in maybe not even put an alarm in the morning, but just keep every night trying to go to bed earlier and earlier incrementally, like within the same hour of what you went to bed like last night, do it the next night. And so like you just try to work backward with your actual like sleeping, but you don't actually try to force yourself awake. Like you just wake yourself when it actually happens. And so you're actually going to feel it's going to be a lot more natural, the sleep you get. And so you're not going to be interrupting it in the morning. It's not going to keep you tired throughout the day. So hopefully then at night you just get like a normal like feeling of tiredness, and then you're able to go back to bed. I mean, I would also say like consider taking some things to help you sleep better. Like, I mean, you could do like baking soda. Taken orally would be helpful. I mean, I take like a half teaspoon every night. You could take between a half teaspoon and probably a full teaspoon, but I also do L-theanine. I mean, I don't know how your willingness to buy supplements just right now.
Heavily against.
You're heavily
like
against?
Yeah.
Why? The cost?
I'm al natural.
Oh.
Yeah, that too.
Well, the thing is, like it's really not bad because it doesn't have, like, the one I have doesn't have any additives. Like I take stuff like when it I know what's in it, like aspirin, for example. I take like, I mean, this is not medical advice. I take aspirin, which is not necessarily saying that it's meant for human consumption on the actual bottle or on the can. It's a can. It is it's multi-animal. Okay. Like many animals can take this, right? It's horse, dog, cat. I don't know if dogs and cats are supposed to. I mean, it names a lot of animals on there basically, but it's mainly
mammalian.
Horses. Yeah, it's mammalian animals on there. I mean, it's okay to take for people. There's not really any additives. This is pure aspirin. It literally says pure aspirin powder on there. This is not the same as like aspirin from the store, which will have like cornstarch in it if it's the tablets, or probably some other fillers if it's like the powder even. This is fine aspirin. I'm not saying necessarily for people to take. I'm not saying that, people should take it, right? I don't even know if I'm taking it, according to YouTube terms of service. I don't know. I don't know if I'm taking it. But I'm just saying I own the can of it, okay? And
potentially
if I were to take it in a hypothetical universe, I'd probably take like an eighth of a teaspoon at night, but also before going to bed while I'm taking that, around the same time I'm taking that baking soda and the L-theanine. So that's kind of my nightly schedule there. I mean, that helps me sleep. If anything, it makes me it's not that it makes me incredibly tired, but it starts to help me get into that zone of feeling the need to sleep without having that same negative effect from taking like melatonin, for example, which is trying to literally force your sleep hormones to actually be activated, and it's going to affect you negatively because of that. On the other hand, I'm just taking supplements that are aiding my natural course of sleep. I'm not taking anything that's forcing me to go to bed. It's just something to help me relax and gets me in that mood to feel like a little sleepy without actually increasing tryptophan or anything like that. So it's good. It feels good. It helps me go to bed. That's it. Now, I mean, we really have gotten off course from your weekend here. You had some sort of a weekend story. I'm trying to help you have better sleep so that you can explain it. But hopefully at this point, you are capable of explaining your weekend.
I can explain it. It's just, I'm just going to explain it. So basically, many moons prior, I was talking with my buddy, one of my lads, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And he was talking about, because I was telling him about, oh man, I love red meat. Pause. I love like ruminant meat. It's great for you, this, that, and the other. Because I mean, I'm like, I don't really keep that to myself. Whenever I can, I'm like a Mormon, not a Mormon. Well, yeah, I like a Mormon or a vegan, basically. Whenever I get the chance and it's people I actually give a shit about talking about, I'm not going to go to a random person. I will bring up the good word, the gospel one could even say, of cows.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, he's like, oh, bro, dude, there's like this one place we went to when we were in Orlando. Yeah, it doesn't matter. In Orlando. And he's like talking about how it's all you can eat meat. It's all you can or you would pay like a flat fee or whatever. It's like that place that we go to.
It's Brazilian, right? This one that you're talking about?
No, that place is great too, actually. And actually, well, I'll leave that on the side for now. But basically, it's like a Japanese place.
Okay.
So it's almost exactly.
Well, you need to text me the name of this, actually.
Yeah, I know.
I need to know. I was going
to tell you, it's pretty good too. The only issue is, it is not cheap.
Well, I'm prepared to pay a cost, for this.
Fair enough. I'll give you the details later
on. I'm not one of those people that is a money grubber.
A money grubber?
That's not my kind of. That's not my MO. I'm not necessarily
a penny pincher.
Yeah, I'm not a penny pincher.
I am.
Well, I am kind of. I am a little stingy, but I would say more frugal.
Here's the thing with me. I am in fact a penny pincher. I do not have heritage that would predispose me to being a penny pincher. However, full disclosure. However, I will still spend the money if it's something I still like. Like, for example, there was a point of time where I was in between jobs and I had no money whatsoever. But I had a large sum of money and I blew almost all of it on a new guitar, which, to be fair, I probably did need in terms of like musical purposes, but it was not an essential thing or whatever. But I bought it anyway, despite it being incredibly financially irresponsible. And similar to that, when I was in between jobs before, instead of like getting a job for a while or investing in, well, I was kind of investing in like things in like large scale, I would just kind of use it to do whatever I want until I ran out.
To go out.
Yeah, and it was worth it because I enjoyed it. But
hey, we want some pussy.
Yeah, exactly that.
Good times.
But yeah, so he takes me up to wow, hold on. It's like a birthday thing he's got going on, right? And he invites a few other guys. It was like 6 of us all together. 6 guys in a car. Pause. And we're transporting ourselves to this place. Because this guy's like really picky, by the way. Like, and he gets upset when I say that, but I mean, he is. It's not really a bad thing necessarily, but he gets picky. He's picky, so like he's willing to drive like these lengths just to go to a place that he likes, especially for his birthday. So I kind of get it. But anyway, um, especially if it beats like a plane, which would be kind of stupid. But anyway, we're on our way over there, and we're picking up the last guy that needs to go with us to this location. And as we're getting on to the road that we're using to get there, like the highway, some guy pulls up next to us, like on the highway as we're driving, rolls down his window, and he starts pointing at us. He's like, "Hey," well, we couldn't hear him because our windows are up. And at first, everybody was like, "What the fuck is this guy doing? Is he like trying to flick us off? Did he hate us because we like cut him off or something like that?" So at first, no, everybody just kind of ignores him, and then he stays in that position, like in line with our passenger seat window, and he's like pointing, and we're like, "Yo, what's the issue?" And he's like, "You've got a flat tire." So we're on the interstate with a flat tire. As we're like, and the thing is too, we had a reservation for this place as well because it's like eh, decently popular in the area. So we get off of the interstate, pull up to a gas station, which is really funny too because it was like the only thing that was close by and it was right next to a fair. So you had a bunch of cop cars blocking off like parts of the road too. So it was a real excursion trying to find a place to just stop. So he calls AAA to like get like see if they can do anything. He has a spare tire, but you know, the distance we were driving was not suitable for a spare tire. Which I didn't even know about until now. I don't know shit about cars. But I walked into the gas station we were at, and there was a large, I assume, Arab man with a limited amount of teeth uh, as the cashier. And he was very talkative. Nice fellow. I just thought I'd throw that in. Give him a shout out. But anyway, after the AAA guy shows up, he's like, "Yeah, you guys need a new tire, or you can try to see if you can patch up this old tire because it doesn't look like it's that bad." We go to the shadiest tire place in the world as it's like raining too, and it's like getting dark. It's like 6, 7 already at this point, or no, yeah, 6. And basically, this looks like a kind of place where if you step outside for too long, you will be shot by either a less than by 2 different people because like the gas station like itself was right next to the tire place, a different gas station, and the gas station looked like a place where tomfoolery occurred, but the tire station looked like the place where you'd walk around in like Texas and you see a guy sitting on in like a rocking chair with a shotgun in his lap type place, and if you get too close, you'll get shot. So there's 2 very opposing parties of areas where you can get life ended very quickly, it seemed. So we tell the guy what the issue is. It takes him a while to like, you know, get what he needs. He just says we can't fix the tire, so we have to buy a new one. Get the tire on, get back on the highway, and by this time it's night, so we had to change the reservation, and luckily it worked out that way. And we get up there, and then like one of them starts playing music of the darker individuals. We'll say that.
Mhm.
So
Well, it was nighttime, to be fair. So, you know, you got to go with the night walkers.
That's true. It's true. I was not a fan of this though. So I luckily I thought ahead. I brought my earphones with me, so I could dissolve into nothingness while they engage in their hooting and hollering to the quote unquote sick beats. Anyway, by the time we get there,
Do you know what song they were playing?
no noise canceling.
Did you hear any of it?
Yeah, I didn't recognize it.
Okay.
But yeah, we finally get there, and this is something that I wanted to mention too. We get in there, we're waiting, we tell them the reservation, and I look around, I'm like, oh, because I thought it was like, you know, a buffet type thing, but they serve you, which it still kind of is, but it's a buffet type thing where they serve you and you cook the meat that you order. So I was like, oh, right. Yeah, because that's the only way they serve things. But I was expecting it to be like the place that we go to, where you know it's cooked and everything, and they just bring it to you basically. But I tell my buddy, I'm like, oh, this is like a Korean barbecue, and like we had passed an Asian guy that was like waiting in line or whatever. He's like Japanese barbecue, and I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, so this wasn't a hot pot.
No.
Okay.
I mean, he was right, and I was aware that it was Japanese. But the reason I said that was because, when you think of like a place where you cook your own meat and it's Asian, you usually think of Korean barbecue. So I was making the comparison that it is similar to this, but this guy wasn't having it. I don't know why. Maybe he was
Was he
Japanese.
Asian?
Yes, he was Asian.
Oh. Was he working there, or was he just some guy in
No,
line?
he was a guy in line.
Okay.
It was like not like a line, but like when you place your name down and you like stand around in the entrance like that.
Okay.
But yeah. So we sit down and there's like 6 of us, and we get like a table where there's only like one little burner or whatever in the middle. So that was kind of a inconvenience. But basically, you throw your meat down, you cook them, and you eat it. It was pretty great. The issue was the price, though. They have like different tiers of prices, and it went from like 50 up to 70 plus, mandatory gratuity if it's like a large party as well. So we got the middle portion, which was like 60, and it ended up being like $80 at the end for if you didn't like buy anything extra.
Mm-hmm.
But it could have went up to like $100+ if you got like the larger thing. But it was good for what it was. I will say the beef pieces, maybe it's just the ones that I got in particular because they are the most fatty pieces. They were a little thin, so that was a little bit But I mean, they were like kind of the general like not texture, but shape and size of like the Mongolian beef that we get at that one place.
So, did people cook their beef for only a short amount of time, or did they like all cook it like through, like well done?
My one buddy cooked his. He ordered like fillet cuts or whatever, so
Mm-hmm.
they were thicker. So he cooked those all the way through, which
Right.
took forever. I usually got the thinner pieces anyway, and what would happen is, depending on where you place it, obviously it's going to be hotter in certain places. So the outside of the meat, the exterior would cook way faster than the inside. So I'd get like a decent like char without it sacrificing the interior.
Yeah. So you're saying your buddy with the birthday cooked his meat all the way through?
Depending on which like cut he got, but yeah, generally cooked it all the way through.
Unfortunate.
It is.
Did you tell him stop that?
Stop it. Get some help.
You're ruining this meat. Should have
I mean,
called
I'm not
eating.
yeah. I'm not eating it, so I mean,
Now,
his funeral.
what ethnicity was this fellow?
White.
Oh, just white. Okay. Well, I was thinking you can.
White.
Well, there's
like very much so.
there's not that many good slurs for white people.
No, you got to get specific, like country of origin.
Yeah.
Usually,
Exactly. Like just general white slurs, they're not that funny.
and nobody cares.
Yeah. Like I only ever see them used by black people that are upset that white people have good slurs for them. So they start getting upset and creating like they say like mayonnaise monkey, but still like vanilla gorilla, stuff like that. But then it's like, but come on. Right.
That's just a variation of like the black.
It's like you're just trying to repurpose what they were already using, it's not very creative.
It's really not.
Or they just say white people. Or like
it's like
white, like W or YT, like YT.
Whitey?
No, YT. It's like white. That's how they spell white on like Twitter, so that people can't just, I think it might have been so that people don't look up white, like the actual word, and then find their tweets. But now it's like everybody knows about it. So it's like you could just look up YT and find white people, like what they're saying
now
about
I know
them.
about it. I didn't know about it before.
I feel like it's common knowledge at this point.
It is to me. I think
it's probably not common knowledge, but as far as chronic internet users would know about this.
Yeah, Y&T's a glam metal band. Well, it sucks for them. They're gonna be losing views. They're old anyway, but yeah. I mean, it's kind of like it makes me think of the Boondocks episode where they're talking about fella moments, and like there's an example of like 2 black guys getting upset over like something like really stupid, and then like it cuts to a next scene where a black guy wearing a wife beater and like sagging pants, like the visuals are important, people. Bumps into like a white guy with his coffee, and he gets upset. He's like, "Hey," and the other guy's like, "Oh, you gonna do something about it?" He's like, "Oh, wait a minute. I'm white. And he just walks off instead of like getting in like a fight. And the black guy's like, hey, don't you know this is a perfectly good opportunity to throw your life away for something stupid?
Yeah. There's a lot of aggression sometimes with the fellas.
Yeah.
Why is that?
A lot of on fella violence.
Why is that?
Feminism?
Yeah, let's say that.
I mean, to get that upset about something stupid like that. I mean, I'm not saying anything, but some people might imply a certain kind of behavior to that.
Okay.
Not me, though.
So the flat tire was the big thing that happened to you on the weekend?
Pretty much.
Okay.
And then, like, the food was pretty great, so that was a nice experience. I would go again when I have more money.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'll let you know about that because worth an experience. But then after that, we were meeting other people in the prior destination or prior location, I should say, to go to a like game place.
What, like Dave and Buster's kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly that.
Oh, just Dave and Buster's.
Yeah.
Well, they're everywhere.
I didn't know. I have no like concept of what is and isn't international or not, or national or not.
Yeah, they're all over that. I see commercials for them on TV.
So you can have localized commercials.
No, it's not a local commercial. It's it's a national commercial.
How do you know?
I don't know. Usually you can tell with the quality. Like you can tell how much they paid for an ad. So if you're looking at one that's like very high production and it's like very generalized, it's for a broad audience, it's like, I know this is a national ad. Whereas, the local ones, usually you do see an address at least pop up on the screen. They may have a little bit lower resolution as far as the camera goes. Usually if it's very local, it's just some guy talking to a camera about his business. But if it's like, less local but like still not national, you still probably are going to see like a list of locations with phone numbers for each one, or like something along those lines that clues you into it. Because if it's not national, right, like why are they just promoting it without telling you where to find it?
Good point, but I feel like I've seen it on both sides.
Yeah,
like both encounters, like both national
ways?
And local. Yeah.
Say that she a lesbian, go me too.
Take a look at the weather. It's looking oppy outside.
Bro, no, hold on. It's like, I feel like I'm bi because you're one of the guys.
Yo.
Something like that.
Is that a Mr.
That's Drake.
Canada? Yeah.
Bro, he literally said that in one of his songs.
King Zest.
He's like, he feels like he's bi because the girl's one of the guys.
Yeah.
Jeez, man.
That's come on.
That's like the fruitiest thing I've ever heard that man say.
Yo, there's at my gym. So like when I was going with my other friends to the gym, he'd have work. Well, actually, that's kind of the only thing. He'd have work, so we wouldn't go until late, like 10, 11, 12 at night. And, once you get to a certain shift at the gym that I go to, you have like, certain people there that are on shifts that you don't see usually. And there's like this one girl that we would like, she'd always talk to us when we walked in, especially because my buddy knows Spanish and she was Hispanic. And once you're at that point in time, I think there's like a level of, there's not really that many people here. And even if they are, they have their headphones on anyway. So it doesn't really matter what kind of music you play on the loudspeaker or whatever. And she would play, sometimes she would just play like Spanish music, not even like reggaeton, but like folk Spanish music. Like, I can't even remember the names.
No Bad Bunny?
Yeah, my God, so many. Not salsa. It's the Dominican version. I forgot what it's called.
Bunny.
Yeah, that's the name of the music. Bad Bunny. But every now and then she would take a break from like the Hispanic stuff. Well, most of the time she would, and she would play consecutive Drake songs, like 10 in a row.
Was it like the fruity stuff?
It's all fruity. It's Drake. Drake.
There's some Drake music where he has like good features, and it's kind of like, it dilutes sort of like the Drake of the track.
I don't know. Even his vocal delivery just sounds fruity as fuck.
Money for
Sun is
fun.
down, freezing cold. Yo,
I count up the money for fun.
I was recently at the gym one day, and I was like just finishing up like a set of shit. What do you call them? Chest press. And I was doing like a weight like slightly above what my usual like set was, and like just as I finished, like as I put the bar down, I I hear the opening chords or whatever to Sicko Mode, and I was thinking to myself, damn, if I had finished just like a second later, I would have died. Because
You would have dropped the weight on yourself.
Yeah, even the guy that was spotting me, as soon as we heard that, we fucking burst out laughing. You can't listen to that anymore without it being like a meme. But yeah, Jake is fruity. That's the moral of the story here.
Whatever happened to Mo Bamba?
I don't hear that at all anymore.
It's like Sicko Mode maintained its meme status, but Mo Bamba, it's like you don't ever hear it.
It's a real shame. I actually saved a video from YouTube where it was a while ago, where it was like the Polar Express memes where Tom Hanks' character, he pulls up like the like intercom thing. He's like, please raise your hands if you'd like to listen to Sicko Mode or Mo Bamba. And like everybody like, so, yeah, everyone like cheers and shit. And he's like, I thought so. And then like the waiters come out with like the hot chocolate and shit. You've seen the movie, obviously, I assume. But it's like a mashup of like Sicko Mode and Mo Bamba at the same time. And what really makes it is because in the actual movie, Tom Hanks's character is singing the hot chocolate song. So he's doing the movements like he's singing along, but it's Mo Bamba and Sicko Mode. But yeah, I love that meme format when it was alive.
See, wasn't there a meme that had to do with that kid that was like the nerdy kid? He's like, oh, I like Mo Bamba more than Sicko Mode.
Yeah. Do you want to listen to Sicko Mode or Mo Bamba?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that meme right there.
He looks to like the black girl sitting next to him. She opens her mouth and it's a fucking Sicko Mode intro. Oh, but yeah. Every now and then a meme dies, and I think this is awful. This should have remained forever. And eventually I would have gotten tired of it, but sometimes
too soon.
Sometimes it's too soon. Like the Howard the Alien one was another one. I love that meme. That meme was great.
Which one was that?
The
was that the one that
paralysis demon?
Like the one that danced to Lil Uzi Vert?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Money Longer or whatever it was.
I don't know the songs. I just know
it's Money Longer, man.
I am not urban.
Daddy. However that goes. Money got longer.
What is that? Does he mean like more money? Is that what that's supposed to mean?
I mean, yeah. The money got longer, bro.
He's stretching out the dollar like physically.
Well, no, he's his stacks grow. Hold on.
I wish my stacks are growing.
Let's find Money Longer here. Yeah, exactly. Hold on. It's like yeah, it did not matter. Turned to a savage, pocket got fatter. She called me daddy. Smoking on gas, gone off the Zanny. She on the powder. Nowadays I am on that. My haters got sadder. Money got longer, speaker got louder, car got faster. There you go. That's your taste.
I have never actually heard the full track besides like the meme where it's just the instrumental.
Man.
Yeah. I've been sheltered. And probably rightfully so.
How about Migos, man? You haven't heard the
Raindrop. Drop Top.
No. The other one. You don't know? You niggas in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That one was a meme for a while.
Yeah, that one's good. I just saw a meme of that the other day on Instagram.
Damn, they're bringing it back.
Bro, it felt good to see that.
The other track that's like becoming a meme again is the I'm a Boss by Rick Ross and I think Meek Mill.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's fun. I will say, when I was a wee lad, I always got disappointed because I thought, wow, these trappers and rappers, they got some pretty good instrumentals, but then they're making primate noises over it, so it sucks.
Jeez, man.
I'm not wrong. Listen.
So you're saying the instrumentals are good, or is that just an opinion you had back then?
I'm becoming less convinced of it these days. Some of them are though, like the fucking Howard the Alien. That's a good instrumental. I don't know what
Really?
you could do with that outside of that context, though. But maybe a young lad could find a way to remix that.
I mean, I'm sure there's a remix out there, but yeah, I mean, like it would probably just be the instrumental, like by itself. Like that's all you could really do, right? But then there would be somebody that spits on it after.
You niggas in trouble.
Exactly. Like somebody would come back and try to make a rap over it anyway. If there's the space for a rap beat, if there's pockets that you're able to put a flow inside of, you're gonna have somebody putting that hippity hoppity on it.
The second law of raponomics by
exactly
Pythagoras.
Exactly.
If there be a beat so sick, with not much musical complexity, one ought to spit on it.
Pause. She ride a dick like a carnival.
What?
That's a Kanye song, man. It's new. There's a Playboy Cardi on it, and he just says it like that. He's like, there's like a video where there's like a horse getting interviewed, and it's like mouth is moving, and they like make it move to the rap. Let me see if I can find it. I'm just gonna have to look up horse carnival Kanye. Let's see if I can find it, because I need to play that. No, I don't think I'm gonna be able to find it unless I look it up on Instagram, because clearly, the problem is you can't just look up keywords on YouTube and always find the Instagram meme, which is very unfortunate.
It is.
It's like, how am I supposed to pull it up now?
Yeah, especially I found one post on Instagram that I wanted to revisit after the fact, but I couldn't find it again because I didn't remember the username, I didn't like it, and I didn't save it. So there was no way to find it again because it was just in my like regular feed.
Okay, so the first image I found was some guy showing himself getting kissed by two girls on each cheek.
Okay.
So let's see if I can find it. See, now the problem is if I find it, right? Like, how am I going to pull it up on the actual thing here?
There's copyrighted music now.
Oh, well, I mean that too, but that's not really the point here. Kanye doesn't have his label anymore, and that label being all money grubbish would be likely to put in a copyright strike. Now, do you think an independent artist would do that? Probably, but still.
My experience with it seems to be that, so it's usually like UMG, Universal Music Group, and Sony. Those are the two big ones, and there might be like a third one that owns a ton of different record labels, and even like the like not mainstream musical genres, they have their own labels, but they fall under either UMG or the other one that I forgot the name of already. So that's really the issue here. But if you find something that's super underground, like it's like new within the genre and barely anybody knows about it, or even if it's because a lot of people don't really use labels anymore because you don't really need them, especially if you already know how to like market your stuff, then you're good. So you kind of just have to like have a good understanding of where that artist or song is in that relation.
Right. See, what I can do is because I found the reel, and I
can guarantee Kanye's probably not on one of those though.
I can play like a few seconds of it, perchance.
No, you got away with the John Lennon thing.
Imagine all the people. Morty, it's the Juice WRLD remix of John Lennon's Imagine. Morty, I'm getting Holocaust. Look, that guy was safe for saying that joke. So, clearly if he can do it, anybody can, right?
That's true.
We live
what
in
do you think about changing the podcast name to the Holocaust?
I just I don't know if we'll get away with that one. I think that might be crossing the line there.
I'm with two other buddies here. Pause. And we're also trying to make like a little show because I floated the idea to them as like a joke a while back, and they're like, oh, "You guys actually want to do it?" It's like, "Oh, fucking why not?" And we're kind of on the struggle of finding names. So one day I just like 10 seconds realized, oh, I should have been thinking of names. So like within like 2 minutes or so, I just came up with a bunch of names and I sent it to them. And one of them I came up with was the Holocaust. I think it's a winner because think about how much traction you'd get from that.
Okay, we got it right here. Oops. How do I get it to? Oh, I didn't even unmute
Yeah, that's
it.
the thing with the online thing. Every time you replay it is, yeah. You got to be quick.
Been a hoe and having flashbacks, she gon' eat me up like a cop. That's the way I pop my shit, the host not ready.
Oh wait.
She ride dick like a carnival. Been a hoe and having flashbacks, she gon' eat me up like a carnival.
There you go. That was it.
Giving animals black people voices is always funny.
Jeez, man.
Wait, there's nothing wrong with that statement.
You know, I mean, you know, it was wrong of me to think there was anything wrong with that statement because
you made it something that it didn't have to be.
Right. You know, because why else would I think of that unless I already had some preconceived notion that there is some relation between those two things as is, right?
Exactly.
So, I mean, that makes me kind of racist.
Right. You know, I always thought about that too when you think of like the people. I mean, I don't really see it now. I don't know if that's just because of the circles I'm in now, or I don't really follow you know, the feminist outrage thing or whatever anymore. But like you'd see people like saying X, Y, and Z is racist, and it's like, yeah, but how a normal person wouldn't give two shits about this. So how much of your life is spent thinking about what is and isn't racist or whatever, or which like how you have to have like a racist mindset to get to that point of view anyway, that you're thinking about it like that when a normal person would be just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. You know, there was a video that I just thought about, and it was Sneeko, right? And he starts saying, like, he's like telling his barber or something. I think he's like talking to the chat, but he's getting a haircut, and you know, the barber, I don't know if he was African American or not, but you know, Sneeko starts saying, you know, guys, actually it's racist to hold back from calling a black person a monkey, because if I did that, then I would be like saying like all black people look like monkeys. Like I would be saying something like that if I didn't call this one black person a monkey and I thought they actually looked like a monkey, you know? So that would be the racist thing to do, not saying it.
I mean, he's got a point.
It's like, because again, that just goes with the same like line of thought. It's like, well, why were you thinking already that it's offensive? Like, why were you already thinking that there's something wrong with it unless you already made a connection between the two yourself?
Schrodinger's monkey. This is not a racist podcast, by the way.
We're a totally peaceful racist podcast. Yeah, that was a good one too. What was the group? I think it was like some like straight group or something.
I never found the context behind that. I just kept seeing it on Instagram.
I think I read that actually the old guy like that said that was actually part of like a group that was like about like heterosexuality, which it's like, what does that have to do with being racist? Why were they calling him racist? Like,
oh, I mean, is it the super straight group?
I don't know if it was because it was like, I didn't say super straight because I just don't know if an old guy would be a part of that, you know. But I just know it was some like straight group.
See, the thing about the whole like straight movement, like I get the whole super straight thing was like a joke. But like when you make something a movement, and like one philosopher that I'm not gonna name mentioned this, like when you make things like a movement or a group like that, you're in turn like implicitly illegitimizing it if it is already legitimate.
So it says on this headline, it's like straight pride organizer claims to rep peaceful racist group. So the concept of a straight pride parade originates with a group known as Super Happy Fun America, which is organizing such an event in Boston on August 31st, aiming to put on what they call a festive occasion that will be used to platform to educate the public on the unique problems facing. Hold on, it cuts off.
I remember that.
This is from 2019. Let's see. The problems facing what? Hold on. I can't find it in. Oh, problems facing our community and to fight against heterophobia. Group founder John Hugo has said straight people are not represented at pride parades and that he'd like them to be included with the acronym LGBTQs. Oh, LGBTQS.
Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transformer, straight.
Oh, I see. Yeah. But you didn't say the Q.
Oh. Quesadilla. That's not even a real thing. That's just like a broad term. It's not like a specific thing. It's like saying, I mean, you can. It just doesn't mean anything.
You know, you remember, did you see this about Steven Crowder when he got like demonetized because, well, I think it was he got demonetized, but also like there was I don't know if there was like some court thing over it or something. I did, or maybe like it was just brought up by like Ted Cruz or something in Congress. I can't remember which one it was, so don't even quote me on that part. But I just know like he got like demonetized because there was some guy from like I think it was Vox that called himself a lispy queer. Like he called himself that. Like he's like, oh, I'm like and like Steven said it about him. And he's like, it doesn't make sense. The guy called himself that, but they demonetized him for saying it about the guy.
Was it Carlos Maza?
Yeah, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah, I remember watching a Joe Rogan podcast where he had Tim Pool and like the Twitter executives, like before Musk, obviously, arguing about it. That's the reason why I know about it. That was like peak political YouTube times too.
So, I mean, like somebody can call themselves something, but as soon as you say it and you're not like part of that group, you're seen as the problem.
Is it like nigga?
Yeah.
I think I'm just going to stop censoring that if it's EA. I don't really think it matters anymore.
Oh, were you censoring it?
No.
Oh, that's why I was confused. I'm like, what do you mean?
I mean, I don't know if it falls like if it's against the terms of service or not, but I hear everybody using it. So I assume not.
I mean, I don't think it is right now.
It's YouTube at the same time, so I mean, they're kind of fucking retarded. I can't say that either.
They could change that. I mean, the thing is, they could change it, and then they, I assume they would target the content that's still up anyway, or that was up before it.
You're gonna need a fucking wrecking ball to take me out of here.
It will take a SWAT team to get me out of here. And even so, that will not be enough.
If it comes to pass, we'll cross that bridge when it comes. If not, that's why I'm posting on Rumble. But we got some good views on there too for like such a short amount of time of the videos being up.
Really?
Yeah, I guess because it's less saturated of an audience.
Yeah, I mean,
there's like.
Yeah, people are looking for entertainment too, because it's all political like all the time. There's not as much comedy, I'd say. That's probably on there. So
I mean, we're political too, but I mean, it's not like the main thing.
No, but it's still like satire. Not all of it. It's not necessarily like every opinion given is satire, though. I mean, when it comes to the opinions given about black people, we'll just say that's satire.
Actually, everything that may or could be conceived of as offensive in any way, shape, or form for legal purposes is considered satire.
Right. If you think it's racist, it's satire. If you think it's homophobic, it's satire. All of that.
If it's like otherwise problematic to the status quo in a way that would require some form of intervention, it is also satire.
Yeah. But everything else is serious.
Yeah.
So like covered our bases 1% there. Of the podcast is serious.
Yeah. The intro is serious.
Okay, right. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I should probably talk about the follow-up of that trip. Because we did. Then we started talking about like the little pump thing, or not a little. Oh, these people are all the same to me, not because of their race, but because of their profession. All these people are the same to me. I would go if I was in the 80s. I would say, "Oh, Motley Crue? You mean Poison? They're all the same, bro. They're all just rock bands." So there's that. Anyway, moving on. On the way back from that game location known as Dave and Buster's. By the way, I ordered an Angry Orchard there. It was like $10, so that kind of sucked. But it was like the equivalent of like 2 that I got. So I was like, not too bad. I was expecting to get like a bottle, but I got a glass, like a beer glass, full to like the rim of like cider. It's pretty epic.
When I went to DC and got the cider there at that one place I was talking about, the karaoke place, it was actually really well priced because you could get, what was it? It was like you get the short one or the small one, whatever. I don't think that one was as well priced. I think that one might have been like almost 8 or 9, but it was still bigger than like one bottle of cider. I think it might have been still the equivalent of like more than one, but it was the Bold Rock. But you get like a tall one, which was like, I don't know how much exactly it was in how, I forgot what they even called it, but it was like huge. And it was like probably 10, 11, something, $12, like something like that. And it was massive. It must have been like 4 of them. Glass. What?
Oh, like 4 bottles. Yeah, that makes sense.
It must have been like actually 4 bottles worth.
That might have been like 3 bottles worth that I had. Because it was like a Stein, like a big that's shit. I need to go there.
I don't know if it was 4. It might have been 3 as well, but it was big. It was a lot. Yeah. I didn't need another one.
I was considering getting another one. I was like, no, this is good. I'm fine.
Yeah, I mean, I got a few mixed drinks. I mean, of course.
Yeah, I'm on to get
a funny thing about that. When I was there, I told you about the guy that had the girl leave him, right? And he was like saying like, oh yeah, because he told me about that. And he's like, all right, how about I take a drink while you take your shot? Because I ordered a shot right before I heard him say that. And then I looked to him, I'm like, I already took it. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I already bought it and took it. He's like, where'd it go? I took it. It's funny as hell.
I mean, shots, like, what are you going to sip it?
I don't know. Maybe he probably was when he was looking the other way or something. But, I downed that shots. Thing. Was I supposed to announce to the world that I was taking a shot?
He get on the loudspeaker. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. I'm about to take a shot.
Yeah. I'm about to take this shot right here, right now, guys. You got to look.
Have you seen that one video of the guy in like the gas station was like, anybody want coffee? I just made a fresh pot of coffee.
I haven't seen that.
Oh shit! I got it in my feed like 3 days in a row, and I didn't send it to anybody because I thought like everybody knew what it was.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me.
But he's like, I got this cup of coffee. Anybody want coffee? This fresh cup of coffee, and like they continually keep deep frying the shit out of it to the point where he sounds like a chipmunk. He's like walking through the like gas station, walking it outside to like the road and shit. Oh, it's great.
But
he's got like a thick, like Boston accent.
Does he have like a pot or is it a cup?
No, it's like a pot.
Just a whole pot out there? How'd you get that?
I guess from the gas station.
Like he just took it out of there?
Yeah.
Maybe he works there. I don't know.
I have no idea. They did not seem pleased with the fact that he was yelling.
Oh, the gas station people?
Yeah.
The 7-Eleven people?
It might have been a 7-Eleven.
Well, I'm just saying because they're, 7-Eleven people. You can't walk into
a 7-Eleven.
By the way,
did you know that 7-Eleven is owned by the Japanese?
Then why are there so many Indians working there?
So what happened was 7-Eleven was originally an American company, and then through some like legal thing or whatever, the Japanese bought all the shares to it. So now the headquarters they have a headquarters in Japan, but they also have a headquarters in the US still. But it's technically a Japanese company now.
7-Eleven.
Imagine you're buying a company that you can't even pronounce properly.
Yeah. And then they have Indians working there. Do the Indians have to say, like, hello, konnichiwa?
That would be hilarious. Yeah, that would be great if you go to Japan and they still have Indian people working at 7-Eleven. Like the only Indian people in the entire country.
Konnichiwa.
7-Eleven.
How may I help you?
Ohayo gozaimasu. How may I help you?
Okay. It come with coffee.
Coffee? That's another meme that one's an old one. That one's been around for like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Apparently.
I was like the first person I knew to know about that video. And so like I was telling people about it. They're like, what do you mean? And then nowadays I could just say it and they'll like know exactly what I'm talking about.
I still have that. I had to like send it to them to like my other group of friends for them to understand what I was talking about. And this was recently, like a month or two ago.
Man, people are
And they're
behind.
like, it come with egg roll. It come with egg roll. By the way, I did I got some Chinese food recently, and it did in fact come with egg roll.
Really? Did you eat the egg roll?
Yeah.
That's tragic.
Yeah. I did not feel like cooking.
I really just try to eat nothing fried outside anymore if I eat outside.
Yeah. By the way, those Chinese places, they fucking suck. Like they're like even outside of like the the like chemicals and shit that are in vegetables, all that, they just suck. Like if you order any dish whatsoever, you get like a ton of rice, which if it's white rice, it's fine, it's whatever. And then like if it's, let's say it's like beef and broccoli, you get like 90% broccoli and 10% beef.
As well, like their chicken is weirdly coated. Like I remember going to Panda Express, like as a kid and loving the way the chicken was coated. And then like when I tried Chinese food, like from one of those like little places that are like, stopped next to the like grocery stores and in plazas, like the coating on them is just so weird. It's like, it's not actually connected to the chicken. And like, it tastes strange. Like their chicken is kind of, I'm again, I wouldn't be surprised if that wasn't really chicken either.
I'm kind of come to the conclusion that it's probably not chicken. Like the beef, I could see that, but the chicken, I don't know.
Do you know that episode of It's Always Sunny where it's like Frank is talking about his time like abroad? I think was it in Vietnam or something? He's talking about like a sweatshop he ran or something like that.
I think I remember that, yeah.
Right, but then he's also talking about like this time where like they were like making like, like, well, I guess when people like got their hands cut off and they found rats and stuff, he's like, we just throw them in the soup. He's like, you find a rat, you throw it in the soup. And he's like, guy gets his hand cut off, we just throw it in the soup.
I mean, listen, if they're coming from that country where, like price of $1 or a yuan, I guess, means something different over here. I mean, you shouldn't assume that just because they come here, they lose that, inclination.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying, because like,
is it really cheaper to get like dog or you think it's horse? You think that's what it is?
It might be. I wouldn't be
opposed
opposed
to
it.
That would be cheaper.
Horse is a ruminant, isn't it?
Is it?
Well, I gotta look it up.
Anyway, point being,
because they still have the accent too, so clearly they're not born here.
Yeah, I don't know, but what I'm saying is,
horses are not
like the meat, right? Like what?
Horses are not ruminants, unfortunately.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So like the meat, would you really be able to tell if it's if it's horse? But I'm also like, exactly. But also like, is it really cheaper to get horse? How would you even go about obtaining that? I would think it's more expensive to get horse here.
Isn't it illegal here?
That's what I'm saying. Europe? So wouldn't it be more expensive to obtain it?
Probably. So it would probably more likely be cat and dog. My thing is, I just don't know how much meat you could get off a cat and dog.
Aren't cat and dog also expensive? I mean, like think about how much it costs to get a dog. I mean, unless you're adopting them.
Do you know how many dogs and cats are just running around like as strays? At least in my area.
Yeah, well, you also have to. Cats are a little harder to catch.
You'd be surprised. A lot of them come up to you because they want food. So if you just like hit them over the head real quick, like a Looney Tunes assassination, I'm sure it's over pretty quickly.
You have like a Bugs Bunny, like the cat that is the Bugs Bunny and the Asian guy's Elmer Fudd.
Yeah,
yeah. Oh, Chewy Rabbit. Oh, what if they use rabbit meat?
Yo, that could be a thing.
Because I mean, bro, rabbits breed like crazy. They could just be breeding them themselves.
Hold on.
Oh, honestly, that could be it.
I mean, it doesn't taste bad. It's just
no. Like, it's the meat doesn't taste bad, but it doesn't taste like chicken.
It doesn't.
So clearly, they could just be using rabbit. I actually wouldn't be surprised.
I don't know if I prefer rabbit to chicken. I think I would, just because it's not poultry. But
I saw a video about a guy talking about why he prefers like having rabbits for meat versus chicken. He's like, this is why I raise rabbits to eat them instead of chicken.
Do you remember what the reasons were?
I think it might have just been like ease of Like, I mean, it might have been the fact that they breed like that, and you don't have to. They kind of are just born. They don't have to be in an egg and shit. I don't know if that was it, but I think it might have just been something easier because of that.
I remember hearing from a buddy of mine that rabbit is incredibly inefficient to eat because of how small and how little nutrients there are for a human to be eating it.
So this guy was
Like
just
on its
retarded.
own. I mean, it makes sense to an extent. I'm not sure about the science behind it, but like you're not going to get as much nutrients, and like you're not going to be satiated from eating chicken as you would from like a beef piece.
Just get animals that can produce milk, and you're fed with the milk.
Yeah, but he was talking about like if you were like alone in the woods or whatever, and you had nothing else but rabbit meat.
Well, I'm thinking about like farming.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Yeah, so to go back to the story, because there was a second part to this that I wanted to dive into. As we were leaving from Dave and Buster's, we like closed them out because they closed at like two or three, one of the two.
No, it's probably
And
two.
yeah, and we were leaving, and as we were leaving, I saw this place. I'm not going to give the name of it just because I'm pretty sure it's like a one like area thing, but it looked like, and like the marketing seemed like a strip club, but it said something else. It said like I don't remember.
It was
what
a steakhouse.
Yeah, it was. You
It's
remember
like
that one time?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Wait, do you?
I must. I don't know that I recall the name, but I feel like, oh no, I it's on the tip of my tongue, man. I know, like, I kind of want to say it, but I can't remember exactly what it's called.
I think we might be thinking of different things, but I'm curious of what you're talking about.
Hold on, because is it like a gentleman's club that serves steak? No, that's what it sounded like you were talking about.
I mean, we know a place that serves steak. Didn't your buddy get a steak there once?
Let me type in the private chat. Yeah, no, there was a different place, but hold on. First of all, I'm typing that, but also yes or no to that.
Yeah, it's not the place I was thinking of. No.
Okay, I thought that was it. There might be another place that I can't think of for some reason, but that was one of the places I was thinking of. But no, yes, my buddy who is a frequent at a sort of a dancer lounge, if you will, exotic dancer lounge. There is steak that is served there. He ordered it, and then he told me, I want to own this place. Also, I would get rid of the kitchen and stop serving steak.
As he's eating the steak.
Yeah. Like as he orders it, he's like, but I wouldn't even serve steak here. Like they're wasting money with that. I mean, it was okay. The steak was kind of salty.
You had it?
Yes.
I don't remember that.
I've had steak there.
Why?
Well, because I wanted some steak, man. What do you want from me? I'm in the mood for steak. I get some steak.
That's like the last place on earth I would want to order a steak.
It was good. I mean, it was a little salty, but it was good. I mean, it was thin, but it tasted good. It was like it was cooked the way I wanted it. Even though, again, like I feel like that cook must have been a smoker or something, the amount of salt he added. But still, it didn't make it bad. It wasn't like to the point where I was disgusted eating it. It was just like, it was more than preferable.
I would be disgusted in eating it just because of the fact that my nostrils are full of cigarette smoke.
That didn't even bother me at the time. I was fine.
I mean, how many drinks were you in?
That's a good question. Anyway, so you passed a place that serves steak, you're saying? Or
No. I don't know where you got steak from, to be honest. I didn't mention steak.
You're saying it looked like a restaurant?
No, so like it looked like a strip club because of the way it was marketed and all that. But like it said something else. It didn't say gentleman's club. It didn't say dance club, dance lounge, whatever, any of those like synonyms. It said something like erotic playhouse or whatever. So I was like, wait, is that just a brothel? There's no way it's a brothel. That's illegal here. By the way, like Dave and Buster's, like where we went to, is like on the other side of town. So yeah, there's definitely not there. But anyway, So I was like talking to my buddy. I was like, "What the fuck is that?" And I looked it up on like Google, and basically the way it describes itself is it's like almost like a dance club, like a club, you know, where people go to like dance and drink, not like a strip club. But explicitly with the goal of getting people to hook up.
Okay.
Like, so the description I read is it's like, so you walk in, there's like an entrance fee. It's only cash always, but for obvious reasons. You walk in, there's like pool tables apparently. I'm just getting this from the website. I didn't actually go in there. There's pool tables apparently. There's like a DJ they said they had. There's a bar they had obviously. And it seems like it's open for like dancing and talking, socializing, stuff like that. But what they have is they have dedicated rooms that you can rent out where, you know, if you meet someone that you like, you can seal the deal. Like they're hosting a place where you do that. And like they even said, you know, if you guys need anything, you know, we have like, you know, amenities, toys, security measures in regards to that kind of thing that we can sell to you for a low price. And I'm like, I was just amazed at the fact that something like this existed. I mean, because technically, I don't think there's anything illegal about it unless you're paying someone to do it, which, I mean, even then, how would you even monitor that? Especially
but if you're paying and recording it, then it's just creating porn.
Yeah, that's true. They're like, all right, sir, you're allowed to pay the waitress to have sex with you, but we do have a filming only policy, you know, legal reasons. We won't use the tape, but you're gonna have to film it and keep the tape. That's such a stupid rule. But yeah, this place exists where basically you go in and it's like a lounge, like a bar, a club kind of, and you meet people and you can rent a room to fuck them.
Right.
Which
I so found that. Want to go?
No. This is like 3 a.m.
I feel like there are probably like usuals, you know, like regulars.
There would have to be.
And I mean, let's be real. Like if you're going there, the kind of woman you're going to find,
yeah,
has been there a lot, or at least in situations similar to that, is at the point where she has escalated her sort of tendencies to actually be comfortable in a place like that.
I mean, if you think about it, and you know the rumors that are basically true about strip clubs, this is basically a strip club minus the stripping part.
Right. Exactly.
So I'd imagine the people that show up there would either be frequent strip club like enthusiasts and or strippers. But except they're not getting paid.
You know,
but like places, that kind of woman.
These places are just the edging equivalent of whorehouses, you know?
Pretty.
So it's like, because you can't really have a whorehouse. You can't have one. But they make it so close to it that it's still like legal to do, but it's like, they're like, but people definitely want this. So we're just going to like kind of make a version of it that's almost there without it necessarily being there. It's like, you know, if you go to this place, for example, you can't definitely score, but like, it's going to be a high chance of it. It's just, you cannot pay somebody to do it for you and be guaranteed it, you know, and at like a exotic dance club, you know, there's a chance that you might actually be able to pay for that kind of thing. It's just not guaranteed, you know, it just kind of depends on the place.
Right. And the thing is too, because like all these kind of establishments have like a policy of only cash for, obvious tax purposes, there's no way really of tracking if somebody said, hey, you're really nice, I'd like to, you know, take you to one of the rooms. And the girl's like, yeah, it's going to cost you a bit. Like there'd be no way of them like tracking that whatsoever.
Right.
So, I mean, it's basically a whorehouse. Just legally speaking. Well, you know, whatever the patrons decide to do, that's none of our business. If we did catch them doing that, obviously we would step in, but we have no way of knowing.
So there's nothing that says that you cannot be doing that in a room with each other. if the person is not paid to do it with you.
What do you mean?
Basically, businesses can have places like designated for, like, any business could have a place designated for people to fuck.
It seems like it.
Like, not necessarily a bathroom, but let's say like you created a closet like at a Walmart. And it's like, yeah, people can do that in here. Well, I'm just saying, like, let's say it's like a commercial business, you know, where they say like, well, if people want to, they can't do it in the bathroom, but we have a designated closet for people to have sex.
You picked the grossest location in the.
Well, I mean, come on, think about where it's going to happen, man. You think this is happening at Target?
Well, I wasn't thinking Target either. I was thinking like, I don't know, like a law firm or something like that.
What'd you say, a law firm?
Yeah, because, you know, come on. Look, there's a lot of movies about, you know, the infidel. Oh, shit, hold on. Let me.
Well, look, what I'm saying is that I'm not necessarily saying it's like for the people that work there. I'm saying it's for customers to go in and do it with each other.
That's okay. Yeah, I was thinking about it for like a work. I was thinking about it like a PR type thing. Like, we get to the point where people are like, yeah, we know you have your urges. So we've dedicated an employee safe urge release room or whatever.
Yeah, no, I wasn't thinking about that. But, you know, I would be a lot more inclined to do it at Target than Walmart. I'll be real.
I mean,
I'm not going to do that at Walmart, man.
I don't know why anybody. Well, I know why.
I'm just thinking there are going to be people that would do it at Walmart if Walmart created that. I'm just saying that's, you know, that's probably the more likely grocery store to be implementing this kind of thing. I don't expect that from Target, you know, but if Target had one, it would be more likely that I would use that one than the Walmart one.
I feel like you wouldn't really want to use either of them until it becomes a standard. And then even then, you wouldn't go to Target. You go to like Publix.
Well, you know, I'm just saying, you know, I'm not going to use the Walmart one. If it were between the two, I'm going to use the Target one. Obviously, the Publix one would be, well, I don't know about that. You know, it's probably cleaner. It's just the selection of women is going to be older probably, or maybe bigger. You know, they got a lot of that fried chicken.
I mean, I imagine it's definitely an upgrade from Walmart, though.
Yes, it's an upgrade from Walmart, but I don't know about from Target. Like, as far as the quality of women that are going to be there, you know, you're going to have a lot of those like younger white women at Target.
That's true. That's like the younger white woman capital.
Exactly.
So
that's like the mecca for it.
Maybe a Sprouts.
Sprouts. Oh, I don't know. That's going to probably be like vegan and hippie kind of women.
Yeah, but you'll get all the college girls.
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay. I can see that. Now, maybe at like, you know, if you want it higher end, you could get like the Gucci store or something.
The Gucci store. Hey, they are Italian. I'm just saying.
You know, but there are a lot of folks that go in there that aren't necessarily, you know, higher budget when it comes to what they can actually afford, but they kind of spend their paycheck on that kind of stuff anyway. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? I think we all know.
Nope.
The kind of people that, you know, would buy this luxury stuff, but they would use the money that, you know, maybe they get some sort of government aid, or maybe they just kind of, you know, they make a music video or something that makes them a lot of money, and instead of investing it, they just kind of go there and spend it.
You mean people that, like, you know, if they were to choose between a Burger King and a Popeyes chicken, they would likely go to the Popeyes chicken.
Yeah, you know, they would get very mad, especially if there's no chicken there. I mean, they'd be willing to get so upset that they would get physical if there is not chicken there. Have you heard about this?
Are you talking about the Boondocks episode?
No, there are literally like, there are real life examples of people getting into physical altercations at these locations because they have ran out of chicken.
I think that's what the episode was about. Like, it's based off of that.
That one was based on like a news segment in which people were shown to be talking about how there is none left, right? Or was that just a different parody I'm thinking about?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. Maybe that probably is what it was based on, but I'm just saying, like, you know, this isn't like a one-time deal, right? You know, I'm not saying it's a one-time event. I'm saying there are examples in which this kind of thing happens whenever that is the case, you know?
So you're saying that if Gucci were to have these rooms for fornication, there should be like a chicken dispenser within there as well.
Well, no, I think only there should be two different rooms, you know, separate but equal. And, and one of the rooms should have a chicken dispenser and one shouldn't.
I mean,
Well, I'm just thinking like it's depending on the wealth of the clientele, what sort of income. I think we could base it like on income, and we'd be fine.
That's fair.
It's not any other sort of traits. It's really just you need to show your sort of paycheck yearly, your salary.
Right. Because you can't discriminate, so obviously.
Right.
By the way, I'm gonna just like completely retcon what I just said a second ago. The idea of discrimination. Hold on. Let me preface this.
It's good, actually.
Literally, yes. Okay, so I actually had this told to me by a college professor. The last place on earth you would expect that to be told to you. It was a philosophy class too, so I mean, like right up the alley of the course. He was like, "I think discrimination is good," and at the time I was like, "Oh, okay." I was thinking he was going to turn it into like an conservative thing or whatever, because come on, it's a college, and well, university. But anyway, what he did though was he basically explained that anytime you make a selection over another or a preference over another, you are discriminating against the one you did not choose. If I go into a store and I'm looking for, I don't know, a history book on ancient Greece or whatever, and I see 5 books based on ancient Greece, I look at the books. I say, oh, well, this one's not really that long. Oh, this one doesn't really have the exact topics I'm looking for. Oh, this one doesn't have whatever. When I make the decision on which book I'm buying, I'm discriminating against the other 4 books on ancient Greece, no matter what the case is. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that these 4 books do not have what I'm looking for in this particular context. So therefore, I am choosing one that will fulfill the needs I have. And the other ones are just, quite honestly, inferior. I know that's a loaded term, people, but like, come on. That's what they are by definition in terms of the context of what I'm saying. Of what
As
I'm looking
Kanye
for.
recently said, I'm not racist, it's a preference. And my bitch looking like a reference.
Like a citation?
Well, I mean, I assume he meant like reference to something of beauty.
Like the Venus of Milo?
Like, well, I mean, I would think like, as if like I'm showing you what an ideal woman would look like. I'm giving you sort of a reference by showing you an example. And so he's saying that his woman appears to be so beautiful that it's as if she is the example that is being given of beauty when you're telling somebody about your standards.
She is, yeah, okay. She is the standard of beauty, basically.
Right. Yeah. That's what I got from it.
Fair enough.
See,
but
look, yeah, I can listen to this Ebonic speak and understand, exactly what is being said.
A translator.
I am the whisperer. But
yeah, like in regards to like, discrimination in terms of that, like obviously, this might get into like hot water. Fuck it. Like if a storefront, like whatever, decides, I don't really align with these kinds of values that certain customers have, I would prefer not to serve them, which people still do. Like you can tell someone to get out of your store if you have like a suspicion that, I don't know, maybe they don't believe in the idea of private property or whatever. So let's say they walk into your gas station and they stuff their pockets full of like Slim Jims or whatever and walk out, and you see that and you're like, or well, before this happens, you see that and you're like, these people over here look like they're up to no good. I can tell them to get out of my store with the suspicion that they're going to do this. That's discrimination still. So it's like, the idea that discrimination on its face, no matter what form it takes, is bad, is quite frankly fucking retarded and doesn't understand the concept of discrimination to begin with.
This actually leads me into something that I kind of, it would be interesting to ask you about. So basically, like when it comes to discrimination, like let's say like of the partner that you want, sort of like, the woman you want, right? If you're a guy, the thing here being that sometimes guys may say, well, I like a lighter woman, somebody that is not browner. Right. So
there was nothing wrong with that statement, but it was still really funny for some reason.
There's no other way to really phrase it there. That's just how it is. So what I'm saying is now somebody who takes this from the angle that like, well, actually beauty is socially constructed, and it's all pretty much just in our heads as far as like, it's been instilled in us. What they'll point to is like European beauty standards. So they'll basically say like, oh, to like long hair as a man, in a woman, is a European beauty standard because, the African women and the other women from around the world, they have like, more hair that puffs out and they go bald or something, and to not like bald women, that's European. That's, it's this influence that, has been instilled in your mind. And so, that's why you like it. I'm kind of wondering, like, what's your perspective on this? Like, is it something that like, do people generally have some sort of inherent view that, let's say like lighter skin is more beautiful, or is that something that is instilled from, I mean, I guess, you could say it's like from a value standpoint, but where is that being instilled from?
So, first of all, the argument that something is socially constructed is usually used in the context of because it's socially constructed, therefore it's invalid and subjective. But that's not really, those aren't equivocal necessarily. Something can be socially constructed, but still be objective. Like, I mean, for example, people say language is socially constructed, and it is a social construction, but that doesn't mean that if I say one thing, it means whatever somebody else wants to make it mean. It still means what it means within the context of the language I'm using. Like, if I say, I want to go to the park, you cannot say, oh, well, that really means he wants to eat a chicken. Like, that's not how that works. Like, there's still a standard regardless of the fact that it's a social construction. And even if it's a social construction, you can still have an objective value or objective measurement for it.
Mm-hmm.
And beauty is one of those things. Now, what I will say is it's like almost entirely like an African thing, because I mean, Asians kind of grew out their hair as well. So do the people in like India, Middle East, Europe, obviously, North Africa even. I'm pretty sure the Native Americans did it too. Although, to be fair, I think depending on if you're talking about like the northern ones or the southern ones, the men also grew out their hair. But even that, like, you could still make the argument because the Greeks still did that too, but it was still considered a feminine thing for a woman to have long hair, even in spite of that. So it seems like it's purely an African thing. And I have a theory on that, why that's the case. I will not go into it here. I'll go into it elsewhere. Maybe.
Why would you not go into that?
Well, so listen, it's not like a racist thing, but given the touchy subject that it is, it very easily could be interpreted as such.
Okay.
So,
well, with that being said, so why is it the case that it would be better for somebody to value what goes in line with what's said to be European beauty standards? Like, why would it be better for somebody to adopt those values?
Okay, I guess I'm getting put in a corner here. I'm gonna have to answer it regardless. Basically, you need to look at it on an objective value standpoint. And a lot of people don't like doing this because a lot of people say, well, you can't really connect this, that, and the other. You can't really say this is connected in any way, shape, or form. But that's not really true. If you actually try and, like, look into it, you can very clearly make connections with things that seem completely unrelated. Like, and I mean, this is like the perfect example. European beauty standards exist, and at the same time, the apex of human achievement, whether you like it or not, is based on European standards. I mean, maybe not now, but at the time, at least, like up until like the 1900s, and even then, we're still dominating like the globe basically, in terms of like cultural influence, just general achievement, civilization, so on and so forth. So the way you should look at it is, okay, what does this culture have that makes it so much more efficient at having a civilization that, maximizes good things? Now, if you disagree on what those good things are, then yeah, obviously you're not going to agree with me on this. Like, I don't know why you would disagree that murdering is something that probably shouldn't be happening rampantly. But maybe you don't agree with that. That's up to you. But basically, looking at what cultures do what things properly and whether or not it's objectively beneficial to the entire civilization or not, you can then extrapolate from that. Okay, well, maybe it is, obviously, political ideals, military tactics, so on and so forth. But maybe the little things also add up into that as well. Now, not necessarily, because then, you have people that say, well, it's Christianity that made Europe the best thing in the world, which is a load of bullshit. Well, there's some truth to it, but not the way that they would interpret it. With the beauty standards of Europe emphasize a division between masculinity and femininity more so than any other culture. Well, at least in regards to like African culture, I'd say. However, because I'm not super well versed in like Asian culture, and Middle Eastern culture is for the most part in terms of like gender dynamics even more rigid than Europe probably, but they're generally considered like racially white anyway, so I mean it's not really that big of a difference for the context of this conversation. But what other things that happen in African culture that may or may not be keeping them from getting to the same level of civilization, or I know it's a loaded term, same level of efficiency at existing basically as like Europeans or even like East Asians do nowadays? And if you look at it, there's like a lot of things that happen like that. Well, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but like for the longest I mean, do Africans, like Africans even eat chicken like that?
I don't think so. What do they eat?
I mean,
they don't even know.
It's like a actual question. It's not a rhetorical question. It's just, what do I eat? I don't know.
What if the whole world is black?
That reminds me. Did I delete that photo? No, I don't think I did. I'll have to send it to you later. But there are a load of contradictions within different cultures, and I mean different European cultures had it too, where it stunted them from reaching their maximal potential. I mean, to give an example for like a European context, so that nobody accuses it of being a racist thing, Christianity, I mean, come on, like I don't really care that much if you're religious, but let's be honest here. Like European Christianity, as polluted as it is with good things, it's not ideal. That's why you have like a full, like, I know people contest this too, like the Dark Ages or whatever, but I mean, it was objectively pretty shit to live at that time. Is it more nuanced? Sure. But I mean, it just isn't as good as like a Renaissance up and like early antiquity in terms of just like living standards and whatnot. And also just like general logic. So when you have contradictions like that in logic, they will naturally manifest in other aspects, like the kind of food you eat, the kind of rituals you have, like traditions, so on and so forth, and also beauty standards. So like, and you could actually prove this too if you accept the the whole, what is it called? I forget where it was from. The like one sculpture of like prehistorical something Venus or whatever, where it's just like this morbidly obese female statuette or whatever. Right. So you have that. And then you compare it to like, I don't know, a sculpture of Aphrodite from ancient Greece. It's very clear just from the art format which culture is better at, emphasizing something that is valid of reality and something that's a contradiction. Unless you're going to argue that, being morbidly obese is really hot, which you can't do in good faith. Really?
Yeah, because I mean, at that point, it's related to health. And so like, health is actually, I would say like it literally is an objective standard. Like you can tell whether somebody is healthy or not, just, based on even like physical characteristics can show that.
Right. And like the thing is, beauty is based on health. Like if you want to get down into the biological aspect of it, the things that you find attractive in a man as a woman and the things you find attractive in a woman as a man are directly related to how well they will be at raising children, at, holding up a household, providing for you, so on and so forth. So certain things will necessarily be objectively attractive to you, even if you come from a different culture. Like if you come from like Ghana or whatever, and you come to like the UK, you're probably not going to be looking at some guy that's got like very low testosterone, has no muscles, doesn't have a job, isn't very confident about anything. You're going to want a guy that's, in shape, tall, goes to work, makes a ton of money, maybe not like a millionaire necessarily, but is able to hold you and your children and himself up financially. Like, that doesn't really change no matter where you go, really. And even if it does change, it doesn't really disprove it anyway, because if it does change, the likelihood of the civilization being inefficient at what it does is pretty high.
So like, why the brothers love fat white women?
Because have you heard their music, bro?
I mean, it depends on what kind of music you're talking here.
That's a good point, actually. Like, listen, just because you're in a larger cultural sphere does not mean that you cannot have separate cultures within that. So, like, a good example would be like, I'm not going to talk about that one, but gypsies, for example, they exist as a separate culture within the larger European culture. Technically speaking, they're like genetically North Indian, I believe, or like Pakistani modern day, if you want to give it like a modern day border. But a while ago, they like migrated over to, I think they got kicked out too. That's kind of funny. They got kicked out of Persia too. But anyway, they're in Europe, and they represent a paraculture, if you want to call it, within the broader European culture. And they exist in Greece, they exist in Spain, they exist in Britain in a different form, so on and so forth. And they are in Europe, which is a better culture than, like India, obviously. Which isn't to say, there's not good things about, like, I feel like I have to keep, like, sugarcoating everything I say when I'm talking about this. But anybody that's got, like, any form of nuance I'm sure you understand what I'm saying here. But basically, if you take a culture like the Gypsies, for example, which it's not ideal. Come on, let's be honest here. Even the fact that they're in a European context, they still have their separate culture, which is not efficient in terms of just living. Because, I mean, really, when you give a value judgment, that's what you're appraising, the efficiency of, life and like a civilization, basically. And when you look at like African Americans, their culture is just not as efficient within the broader context of, Western culture. Now, that's not to say like you can't be like, a good person or whatever, or like achieve like good things as a black guy in like I don't know, Germany or the US or anything like that, because I mean we have examples of that. So it's obviously not like a racial thing like some people want to make it. It's literally a cultural thing. Like, and it just so happens that if you're raised in a culture that emphasizes things that are different to another culture, then you're going to get different results. Now, you could argue that, I don't know, maybe this isn't objectively good or bad. You can do that. But I think like the evidence there is kind of like undeniable to an extent. Like, I mean, the death toll alone.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of goes back to the whole thing about like, it's racist to make the assumption in the first place about like two things being related when like nobody else was thinking that. If they, that it's a joke, but like it's also kind of serious in the sense that like to say like, okay, you're saying something that is not pro like ghetto culture, you're saying like, well, that's actually not good for people. And then somebody would say, well, that's racist against black people. It's like, well, why did you connect the two in that way? Why did you make it out to be that this actually is inherent to that people? It seems like you're the one that's saying like, the person that would be asserting that would be the one that's kind of saying like, you can't really change anything based on your race. Like, like you are bound to a culture because of your racial origin.
Right. And that's literally racism at that point. Like, if I say, I mean, it's kind of a joke, like a know you type thing, but it is literally what that is. I mean, basically, if I say, talking about like shooting up a guy because he looked at your girl the wrong way or something like that, or selling like drugs in the street, that's not a value judgment based on a racial thing, because people that are for European descent or people that are Asian descent or, Native American descent, they all have the capacity to do that. They can still do that, and it doesn't matter who they are, really. It's still a negative thing to be doing. But if I say that and you're like, that's racist against black people, well, you're saying basically, as you like illustrated, that because you're black, this is a part of your culture and you cannot separate it from your person as an individual, which is saying basically that because you're black, you are bound to do this, which is saying based on how you're born, you are bound to this circle of what you can do, which within itself is racist. Like, I mean, that's the whole reason why there's like a big pushback against like the scientific or like race realist type thing or whatever. Because, people would say, oh, well, these Africans, they're bound to be in shambles. They can't rise up to be like as civilized as us Europeans or whatever, which is a load of bullshit. But I mean, in a cultural context, yeah, it makes sense. If you follow these tenets of a given culture or creed or whatever, then yeah, it's going to result in these effects that may or may not be great for you. And I mean, you don't even have to leave it at religion. You can use it as, you don't even have to leave it at race. You can also apply it to like religion as well. Like, this is why certain, like, the monotheists like to dog on the polytheists a lot. But there is a spectrum of that. You have the Greeks who were polytheists. They believed in many gods and all that, but they were still able to come up with an objective, apart from the polytheistic beliefs, logical framework where you can, I mean, that's like the base of the scientific method. Like, oh yeah, I believe in Zeus and this, that, and the other, but that doesn't mean I think we should start sacrificing children or anything like some Middle Eastern people are doing. This is logically inconsistent. So it's not, there's an idea where because it's associated with one thing, that it must be bound to one thing, which just isn't necessarily true in most cases.
So your point there being that like the monotheists aren't necessarily like more rational just because they believe in one God. Like both like polytheists and monotheists are like mystics, like and basically it just comes down to other logical beliefs that they hold.
Right. Like, you can be a monotheist has some edge over a polytheist, but that doesn't mean that the polytheists don't have any edge over the monotheists at the same time.
Well,
because I mean,
what I'm getting from it is that you're saying it's not because of the amount of gods that they believe in.
No, because like there's like this, it's a medieval thing too, where the idea is, oh, look at how godless they were. They didn't have the one true God telling them what to do, so they did this, that, and the other, which isn't even entirely true. Which we'll talk about it in the next episode, I guess, because we don't really have a lot of time. But it's like a propaganda technique. It's like giving a validity to your own creed based on the fact that you see that these people are doing something that you disagree with. And therefore, because of this, my creed necessarily must be more righteous. But that's not even true. Especially when you consider, like, from a Christian point of view, most of Christianity is heavily influenced by Greek and Roman thought who were polytheists. So you can't even really make that argument, even if it was true.
Yeah, well, I've heard a criticism, of like Christianity because of its influence in that respect, like, and because that, like, I've heard that's the origin of believing like Jesus is God or like Jesus is the Son of God.
Yeah, it actually goes on, like the last episode I was talking about esotericism. It gets into that too, which is intrinsically tied to like a Greco-Roman and a little bit of Semitic point of view. So, I mean, it's inseparable. You can, like, cope all you want about, well, actually, it comes from the Hebrew Bible and this, that. Yeah, but there was a shit ton of influence from the Greeks and Romans. So you can't really say it's a polytheistic thing or not, because it's based on logic defined by polytheists. But yeah, I mean, it's not to say that polytheists are great either, too, because, I mean, you have, like, the reason the Romans went to war, or one of the reasons they went to war with the Carthaginians, was because they were sacrificing infants. And there's actually like evidence that, yeah, they probably did do it. It wasn't just like a tactic to go to war. So, I mean, you can still believe in stupid stuff if you're part of one group. Logic isn't confined to one group of people, unless you're saying like logical people. That's really the only, like, you can still be religious and have some form of logic, and you can be not religious and still be illogical at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive, is my point.
Yeah. So you were talking about before the show, you were mentioning the Greeks and their supposed love of boys.
Yes. I guess we do have time. I wasn't sure how long that was going to go on for, but yeah. So there's two things. One, like major academics, and I actually, as a college graduate myself who got a useless degree, I was exposed to this like front and center every time they brought up the Greeks. Well, the Greeks, they didn't really look at gay stuff the same way that we do nowadays, which at the same time they contradict themselves at the same time, because they say it's a gay paradise, which is implying a gay perspective from the modern sense, but I'll get to that. And then there's also the pedophilia stuff as well, which is weird too, because every time I heard it said, there was almost like there's a cultural relativism with it, which is very strange. Because if somebody gets convicted of pedophilia or whatever, that's like the go-to thing where everybody like universally is like, oh yeah, that guy's a horrible person. Mm-hmm. He shouldn't have done that. But then once you put it a few thousand years beforehand, and it's like, well, it's their culture. You can't really judge them for that. It's like,
yeah. So what if they got married to women or girls at 9 years old?
Yeah.
Back then, how can we judge that, right? How can we judge that, at the time, women, they were ready,
Yeah, at the time, like 2,000 years later, women just aren't ready now, but before they were, apparently.
Yeah, well, I really don't even know how you can justify that. Like, how is it that they are psychologically so different than where they are now that like somehow they can form that like ability to consent in that time, unless that just doesn't even matter?
I think it literally every argument I've heard of it is just cope.
The argument must be, seriously, must be that consent actually doesn't matter. And this is just a matter of, well, it was okay because everybody else saw it as okay.
Yeah. So it's just like whatever the masses say is okay is okay.
Well, as long as the people who were not children were okay with it, they were the ones guiding the children. So, obviously it was fine. If you think about it, couldn't you just apply this argument to like sections of the world, right? Instead, like in a modern time, right? And so what you could say is that, well, since Epstein's Island was actually secluded and everybody on that island believed these things were okay, it actually was okay in that context.
Yeah, I've actually heard people make that argument, not in this like
not at Epstein's context. Island, but why couldn't you make that argument for Epstein's Island if you believe that cultures around the world are equal and essentially that like, well, anything they believe is okay because it's that culture? Well, technically in this secluded island, that is the culture.
Yeah.
So why is that not okay?
Well,
because my culture says it's bad.
Yeah.
But wait a minute. Your culture says things from other cultures are bad as well. What about that?
No answer. They use that argument for like literally everything too. Anytime any culture like defeats another culture, you're not allowed to pass judgment on it, even if the other culture is like objectively worse. Unless it's Nazis, then you can do that. That's fine.
Right.
But you can't say that about the Soviets or anybody else. But it's weird.
Well, the Soviet Union, man, that it was like, how are we to judge what it was actually like there? There's so much propaganda about it that, we've been convinced that this is actually a hellhole when, there were those people that were resisting it were probably just, not fans of communism because they were bad people. They were those filthy pigs that we need to get rid of today as well.
Right. Like if somebody comes up to me and tells me I can't plant this crop anymore because the state says it wants to do it that way, and I'm telling them, this will lead to a famine, and they're like, well, no, you're just a liar. You're just an evil capitalist. You need to be put down for opposing the righteous state of the communist state. That's kind of deserved because, really, he's just an ideologue that hates the real great stuff that is communism.
That just reminded me of the meme where it's like when you try, well, I don't know the exact example, but like, let's say you try planting a potato 3 feet in the ground, but US Federal Code Section 3-92.560 says you can't do that.
I love those memes. It's like, I think I sent you the one with like the maple syrup. I want to create maple syrup for commercial use that has more than like X amount of soluble solids in it or whatever.
Yeah.
It's the guy with the whistle.
Oh, is it like?
No. It's a guy with a whistle doing like the no sign, but it's still the better off alone music.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you meant it was like that, like it was changed. I'm like, I don't remember that. I remember the do you think you're better?
We need to bring that back. That song's epic.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah. Going back to the Greek thing, yeah, I kind of got off topic on that. But the Greek thing, basically, Greece was a gay utopia. apparently somebody verbatim said that.
So
And,
wait a minute. Did you ask this person? It's like, well, do you also believe that they had relations with little boys? Is that what you're calling a gay paradise?
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like, so wait. If you're saying this is a gay paradise, does that include the pedophilia as well? Like,
and you're telling me that today the kids aren't getting groomed. You're telling me that today they're not getting groomed because that's bad. But back then,
back then it wasn't bad because it was their culture.
See, today it is happening, but you're telling me it's not happening. Back then, you're telling me it was happening and it was good. So it's only a matter of time before it was happening today, and it was a good thing that it was happening.
Isn't that like the Holocaust denial argument too?
Well,
it didn't happen, but if it did, it was good.
I'm just saying.
But yeah, so first of all, the whole gay thing, it's like there was like a book that I saw, like there's like a guy that made a video on it. But basically, the whole gay in Greece thing didn't even really occur until, like, it didn't become like academic standard until like the 1800s or something like that. And it was based on several books about it. And one guy made a book where he was using Greek pottery, like, the black and red sugar pottery where it depicts like, myths and stuff like that, from like ancient Greece. He said something like, oh, well, we can see in ancient Greece that a lot of pottery, like I forget the exact figure he gave, but it was like 600 pieces or something like that out of like 30,000. I don't know, something like that, a figure like that, where it was like a large amount of it. Might have been like 600 out of 3,000. It doesn't really matter, but a large portion of pottery depicted gay sex, and therefore that shows that it's very present in the culture. And then like another guy, he made a book where he like actually looked at the evidence the guy was giving, and he's like, well, actually, if you look at the pottery, there's very little aspects of it that are actually gay sex, because he looked at some of the examples, and it would be something like, well, you see Hercules on this pottery piece, he's stabbing with a blade towards somebody, and it's showing his genitals, or it's like placed near his genitals, so that's actually saying an innuendo that he actually really wanted to put that it was a phallus and he was penetrating the man, but he couldn't do that because it was unacceptable in Greece. Which, if you think about it, for more than 2 seconds, you just said it was a gay utopia. So why would it be an issue to show that in the first place? And then apart from that, you have to be so schizophrenically searching for a validation of your own theory to get to that conclusion like that. There was like another one too, where it was like, I can't even think of it actually, but it was something like that, basically, where, well, it's really a man and a woman having sex, but the artist really wanted to depict a man because you can see it's anal. And it's like, what?
Was it
what
anal?
are you talking about? I don't even know. I don't
on
think
the pottery?
Yeah. I mean, there is like sex on the pottery. Like some pieces of pottery will just show sex, and like they're all nude too. So it's like whatever. But the thing is, when you have interpretations like that, the number of pottery that actually shows gay sex like plummets, and then the ones that actually do show gay sex are of satyrs, so they're not humans. And the thing is, with satyrs, they're like the archetype of what Satan looks like now. They're like the horns, they're like half goat, so on and so forth. But the satyrs were known for being incredibly perverted and looked down upon by the Greeks as just like hedonists. So I mean, that doesn't really validate the idea that it was accepted. It's just like, we have this figure in our folklore that is not looked upon in a great light and is known to be incredibly, hedonistic and all this and the other. So we're depicting it like that the way it is. So the viewer knows what we're depicting.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't really give a value judgment on it necessarily. If anything, it gives a negative value judgment.
Right.
And then there's like actual like documents of like in Athens or whatever, if you're convicted of, no, I'm not really remembering if it was just sodomy in general or if it was specifically sodomy with a minor, or, well, obviously they didn't have the idea of a minor, but a younger age person, they had like a punishment where you would publicly get a radish inserted up your orifice as punishment for your crime of, again, I don't remember if it was specifically if it was any kind of gay sex or if it was specifically gay sex of a child. But obviously, regardless, there was an issue with it if they had that ritual where it was like, yeah, you're going to suffer now because of that. So it's very clear that it's not like, well, I mean, we accept it, but we're also just going to punish you for it. It's like you can't really have both.
Yeah.
And then on the pederasty thing, which is, originally all it meant was, basically you had a tutor, like a private tutor, and your parents would give you off to this guy every now and day, or every like so often, and he'd be like a tutor. He'd be like teaching you in like like science, math, so on and so forth. And every now and then, what would happen is, you'd have a deranged guy that was a tutor, or like there's like a certain term for it in Greek, but I don't remember it. But he would, take abuse of the child because he was, profane. And while this did happen, it wasn't the norm. And you actually have a lot of like writers in Greece talking about how it's evil. Like Plato was like, yeah, this is the most disgusting thing ever. We should put them to death. I forget the other names. There's like other bunch of people. Aristotle himself, actually, he mentioned something about not the pederasty specifically, but homosexuality, where it's like you are giving in to a primal lust. And he actually says the meme where the reason why men give in to this primal lust of lusting after another man is because they were abused as a child. So I mean, given that evidence, it does not seem very likely that the Greeks were all, like fine with, man on man stuff. And then even the Spartans, the legendary, he may or may not have existed, but even if he didn't exist, he was probably based on someone that actually did exist anyway. I forgot his name. The founder of Sparta, not Lysander. There's something with an L though, but he made a law against it where he was like, yeah, we're not having this here. This is bad. And some people point to this as evidence of like, oh, well, clearly it was a sign that this thing did happen. It was really popular. The fact they had to make a law about it. But then you could say, okay, well, the fact that we have rape laws, does that mean that people were just going around raping people left and right without consequence beforehand? Not really. I mean, you could argue like it wasn't punished in the same way, sure, but you can't really argue that everybody was just doing it just because there's a law for it.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you compound that with the fact that like there's other punishments in different Greek city-states about it. So yeah, it's looking like there's actually, I think the guy that made it, that was pointing at the pottery thing, the book was called something like Homosexuality in Greece, the Myth is Crumbling or something like that. It looks like the myth about that is falling apart if you look about it. And it's funny too. I looked into this because I was watching a podcast where some guy where they claim he's like a big historian. He brought up the same thing. And he was like, well, actually, this, that, and the other. And he's kind of a guy that's like known to be more on like the conservative or whatever, right-wing leaning kind of side. And he still kind of fell into this. And the issue is because people like this, they give in to the appeal to experts thing, which is just an appeal to authority and is a fallacy, by the way. So if you have academics pushing this like so aggressively, it's basically the idea of if you keep saying it enough times, eventually people will believe it is true.
Mm-hmm.
But you compound that with the fact that, well, I have X degree and I studied this for X amount of years. And the problem is people are studying these things. They're studying like the actual sources to some extent too, but they're also studying interpretations that somebody else made on the sources and then just kind of going with it instead of actually, cross-examining if it actually lines up with what is actually from the sources. And the reason I believe this guy that made this video on this is because he actually did his research with the sources and he actually analyzed the interpretations of the sources and actually cross-examined them. And it doesn't seem like they line up, at least not to the extent that people make it out to be. And he actually made another video on the Romans too, which even goes deeper into that, how like a lot of the people say, oh, well, they said Caesar was gay. They said Augustus was gay. And that clearly means that like, it was a regular thing and they didn't really care about it. But think about it in a modern context. Like, well, maybe not modern, maybe like 10 years beforehand. But when you were a kid and you're like, you have like a little, like you're bullying people, not to like, the physical sense, but you throw a little bit of dirt, verbally speaking, to like your buddies, like, what are you, gay?
Yeah.
I bet this guy, you make gay jokes, but you don't mean he's literally gay, and doesn't mean like you're like okay with it. It's, if anything, it's quite honestly damning the activity. I mean, yeah, that's what it is. And it's used as a joke because the joke is that you're doing something that is not considered all right or okay.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it wouldn't be funny. You would just be saying like, "Oh, he's a gay guy." That's it. There would be no purpose in saying it.
And that's why you see people that get mad about making that joke, because it's like, what, is it not normal that we can't, or that we have to say this as something that's, off or abnormal? The thing is though, what's with people trying to find this historical precedent for it? Like, what does that say about sort of, the behavior that, oh, well, there are people that have done it in the past prior to now. I see this with like the whole, like, transgender stuff, or like multiple genders, like, or like, gender, in general, like is like the concept that they'll claim it is. But they'll say like, oh yeah, there was more to sort of like, like there's more than just sex. It's like, people have felt that, they are, like, this third gender is like what the Native Americans, they said like, oh, they had this third gender. And, well, I don't know if we want to get into some of the more controversial ways of talking, but I'm just saying there is a people. I'm not going to say what people. Boy. I'm just saying that there have been a sort of understandings of this people, of these doctors in the past that there is like male becoming female naturally, apparently, or something like that. I think it was like through modifications or naturally.
Yeah.
Or like born that way. Anyway, there's like 6 or 8 of these, and it's like there's a difference between man, woman, man becoming woman becoming man, and there's like 2 different versions of each of those. Like I think it's like, I don't know if it's like modifications or natural, like appearance changes, something like that. There's like a distinction. And then there's like, the intersex stuff and all that. But basically what is being said, it's like, well, there's actually, precedent for, like these changes of like sexual, like, conduct and all that. So, basically what is the point in doing that? Like they're basically trying to, it's not like an appeal to an authority, but it's an appeal to like, a custom. Like it's the fact that like, oh, well, people have done this for so long, in our view, that it's like, well, it must be fine to do it now too.
It is still an appeal to authority. The issue is the authority isn't one institution or one, like academic or like person. It's like traditionalism, basically. It's like a warped version of traditionalism. The tradition is the authority now. So if you can say, well, look, our past had this, that, and the other, and just take it on face value, therefore you can say, well, if they were doing it and they had X, Y, and Z, a great civilization, they were, and they probably don't even take it that far. I'm pretty sure they just say the fact that they were doing it is evidence enough. Then you can say, well, then there's nothing wrong with doing it now. Like, obviously, there these new, and they are new too, these new like concepts of like gender and whatnot, they didn't really exist in the past like that. Rarely they did. Because even like with the thing you're talking about, I'm pretty sure they're not as fantastical as the ones we have now, where you can kind of just identify as literally anything. But they do follow a, shall I say, suspicious trend. But yeah, like it's like the idea of me saying, well, I grew a beard, or I'm growing a beard, and I think growing a beard is morally imperative because my dad grew a beard and his dad before him grew a beard. Therefore, everybody that's a man should grow a beard because that's the way it's been. But you're not really making an argument. You're just acknowledging an observation. There's no logic behind that.
And the thing is, they're trying to make it out to be as if the people now that exist now are just suppressing something that has like, always been the case. It's like, well, this has always really been a part of humanity. It's just now there's a bunch of prudes that are trying to silence this and shut it down, and also, it's basically like, these same people, wouldn't they say like a lot of things are wrong based on them being traditions, just for the fact that they are traditions? Like just on the basis of something being a tradition, they'd be like, well, this is wrong. This has been something that is an outdated view. And so, why is it that, like maybe a traditional family or like, well, I mean, I know they do it about religion, but like, obviously we're not saying religion is like correct or anything, or necessarily there's like any correct religion. But the point being, like, they'll say like they'll attack religion on the basis that literally just because people have done it for so long, it's incorrect. Yet at the same time, they'll say like, oh, well, this thing also has historical backing, so it makes sense that people are doing it now again.
Yeah. They try to claim that they're not bound by the appeal to authority, but that's exactly what they do at the same time. It's just a matter of which authority you choose. Because it's like the same thing with like the communists and the well, I mean, I already said it, Nazis. They're both authoritarians, and I mean, there's actually not a huge difference between the two, but the differences are basically which authority you're appealing to. The communists would say, and actually, again, it is a really bad example because they're very similar, actually. But for the sake of the normie perspective, the Nazis would say the good of the people, the tradition that you ought to subject yourself to is the people, meaning your culture, your nation. So the Germans or the quote unquote Aryans, which again, they're not even using that term correctly. But anyway, and then the communists would say, well, no, nationality is stupid. It's just a stupid tradition. You can't have that. Obviously, you're bound to the state, and the state says, well, you got to do this. So you got to do what the state says. Yet they still use the same means to do basically the same thing. And that's kind of where you've got like the ultra religious conservative people that are saying, I mean, they're not Nazis, obviously, but for the sake of the argument, they're comparable to that, where it's like you're bound to tradition, you're bound to the religion, you're bound to your people, yada yada yada. And the communists say, well, no, or the left wing people, same thing, doesn't really matter, but they say, well, no, that's stupid. I mean, you can't prove that tradition has any value. You can't prove that religion has any value. You can't prove this, that, and the other. Really, you should prove yourself to the state. The state is really what matters. You need to be bound to society because that's good somehow. But yeah, it's the same shit. Yeah. But because it's different from the traditional, quite literally, traditional authority, it's fine, apparently.
So what would that make a religion that's also statist?
So like 90% of them?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like, if the conservatives are the ones that are emphasizing religion and the left's the one that's emphasizing the state, then what would be the ones that are like the most statist religions? Like let's say Islam, for example, they don't really even see a distinction at some point between like country and religion.
It's weird. I have like a Muslim friend, and he's been telling me some stuff. And, obviously I'm not convinced by the religious dogma, but it seems like the interpretation Westerners have of Islam is slightly skewed. So the Muslims, in a way, they have the concept of the Ummah, which is basically, if I'm remembering correctly, is the people that follow the prophet, basically. So anyone that's a Muslim. So
subhanallah, look at the Ummah today.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of like the justification you get for ISIS, not the monetary incentives they had, but we'll talk about that later, I guess. But for ISIS, like, doing their thing, there's Muslims in Europe, therefore we need to liberate them. There's Muslims here that are following an impure way. We need to liberate them and show them the true way, whatever. So you can make an argument for the Muslims saying, well, no, states shouldn't exist. We should have one pure Muslim state for all the Muslim people, and everyone should be Muslim. But then if you think about it, if you expand it just a little bit outside of the religious context, you're basically just justifying like a new kind of like Soviet bloc, really. It's the same shit. So like in a way, they try to make it seem like, no, nations don't matter. But at the same time, it does, especially when, your holy book isn't considered the holy book unless it's in a certain language. I would say that's pretty nationalistic. But maybe that's just me. I don't know.
Why wouldn't Muslims advocate for the combining of all the Islamic states?
Because the Iranians are awful, don't you know? See, the Iranians are false Muslims. We Saudis, we're the true Muslims.
Let's say all the Sunnis and the Shias want to develop their own nation together, each of them. See,
that would still be impure because the Shia still exists and they're bastardizing the words of the Prophet.
Well, I'm just saying, why don't each of them advocate for nations of their own, like, but just like one nation for each total, like one mega nation for each.
The Iranians kind of do. They just don't really have the means to do it. And Iran itself is kind of like not like a US, but almost like a Russia, where there's like a ton of ethnic groups that are more or less relatively similar in one nation. But, obviously one group dominates because they're the majority. So the Iranians kind of have that view. The Sunnis are weird because they all consider themselves Arab anyway. So there isn't really a reason for them not to do it. So I don't know. I mean, the Egyptians kind of hold on to the, we're Egyptian thing, even though they don't speak the language. They kill the Christians that are the actual descendants of the actual Egyptians or whatever. That's a whole nother thing. But
we were leaders and such.
We were admirals and the like.
Yeah.
But yeah, religion it's a way of becoming nationalistic without becoming nationalistic. And here's the thing too. In that one chat that we had from our mutual learning institution, it's full of people that are Christian. And it's funny too, because whenever they always like to point, they do the same thing that the left-wing people do. The number one bad guy you can point to is Hitler. So whenever they talk about, I forget who it was. It was one of them. It doesn't really matter because I'm not going to mention them by name anyway. But one of them said, well, if you look at like atheists versus Christians, the Nazis were atheists. No, they were not. You have to be a fucking moron to think they were atheists. You could say they're not Christian. That's technically true. But the ideology that the Nazis followed, and it varied within which figure you're talking about, the ideology that the Nazis followed was based on a form of like heretical Christianity, really. So you could argue that they kind of were Christian. It'd be a stretch, to be fair, but you could still make that argument. So it's not even really holding water. And I mean, again, it's like the polytheist versus monotheist argument we made earlier. You can still be a retard and be an atheist, but just because atheists can be stupid doesn't mean that atheism is inherently wrong. And on the same coin, you can't say Christianity is inherently wrong just because they're wrong on one specific thing. You need to break down on a fundamental level what is wrong with the ideology.
Yeah, but atheism isn't even like a complete like worldview in what it is. I mean, it's literally just the belief that there is no proper evidence that there exists a higher power.
And that's the thing too. I've had so many arguments with so many different people from so many different places around the world. Every single last one of them comes to the same conclusion that atheism is just a different kind of religion.
Mm-hmm.
You can make an argument for like academicism, sure, which I mean, a lot of them happen to be atheists, but a lot of them happen to not be atheists at the same time. So that already breaks the argument. Atheism on its own is literally just the idea that there isn't any God. Now, you can take that in any way, just which direction you want. Just the same way that you can be a Christian in the early days. That meant literally just believing that Christ was your savior or God. And you can have the Orthodox Christians, you can have the Catholics, you can have the Protestants, you can have the Gnostics, you can have the Arians, different spelling people. But the Arians were like the idea, they brought the idea of God, Jesus isn't 100% God or 100% human. He's like 50-50, which when you say he's 100% both anyway, that's basically the same thing.
If you're 50% God, wouldn't you be 100% God? Because it's like infinity, you know what I mean? Like, how could you?
Yeah,
I'm half infinity and half like 50. It's like, okay, well, that still makes me infinity.
Yeah. So, I mean, the whole demigod thing is kind of fucking retarded to begin with, but the Greeks made sense a little bit more, but still, the point is,
well, because in their mind, gods aren't like all powerful. They're not like infinite.
They're like, they've got like their little cubby that they're in control of.
They are just more powerful than we are in their mind. So it's like, it makes sense because it's like, okay, well, it's the fusion of that higher power, but in the sense that this is just a larger power plus a smaller power.
Right. Which isn't necessarily a contradiction.
Power. Yeah, rather than just all power plus some power.
I never even thought of it like that. Yeah, it is kind of, it doesn't make any sense. which is what I will give credit to the Muslims. This is like a common like thing they have against Christianity, where they say that they believe Jesus is a prophet, but they don't believe he's God, and they say that the Christians corrupted that. On that point alone, they are right. That makes no sense whatsoever. Because I'm pretty sure the Muslims only believe in prophets. They don't believe in like an avatar of God or anything like that. But yeah.
Oh yeah, well I mean they can't like depict God or even the prophet Muhammad, and then it's like I don't think in their mind God has an actual like physical form of any kind because he's just everywhere.
Right. It's not like I get where they're coming from. If I were religious on that point alone, I would be like, yeah, this Christianity shit doesn't really make sense. Because it would make more sense to have somebody that's speaking to God than to have somebody that is God walking among us, and then he died for some reason because he had to, but he didn't really have to because he's God.
I remember this guy. He might have been like a stand-up comic or something. I can't remember where this came from. But basically, the breakdown is, God created himself and sacrificed itself to itself for us, and then asked us to celebrate it.
Yo.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm doing you guys a great favor because of a problem I created, but I'm doing this for you, so you guys should give me some ups, all right?
Exactly. So it's like, well, that's
but remember,
crazy.
I'm a humble God. I don't need your praise. I just like it from time to time. And also, if you don't praise me, then I'm not going to let you into my house, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'm going to kick you to my cranky neighbor's house, and he's going to like fuck you up for like eternity because he didn't praise me. But I don't want your praise.
Right.
It's your choice.
Yeah. I don't know. That's pretty much it. I really don't have anything much more on that.
Yeah, I guess we could like wrap it up here. But yeah, the moral of the story is you should not blindly trust academics or anybody just because, well, any authority like that. You need to like actually think for yourself and look into these things. Because like I have a ton of books about like history here that I'm looking at right now here in my garage on like ancient Greece and stuff like that. And a lot of them will say, yeah, the Greeks were gay, which is weird too, because a lot of history doesn't even really, it's usually military history. So it's like, why would you bring that up when you're talking about like conquering Persia or something? It's like, it's weird. It's like, yeah, Alexander conquered the Persians. By the way, he had sex with a gay guy, which, by the way, probably isn't even true. I didn't even mention that part, but you guys can look it up, I guess. But anyway, think for yourself. And also, if you have the chance to go to a place that serves meat that you cook for a price, and then it's all you can eat, you should try it. And also, if you film it or if you don't pay somebody, legal, if you don't have any record of paying somebody, prostitution is legal, apparently.
Yeah. So what I know is that if there's any recipes you have that are just primarily consisting of something of simple sugars and are clean foods, please drop the recipe because I want some more ideas of what to make myself for breakfast. But I'm pretty nice for now with those kiwis. Look, put cane sugar on your fruit. It actually really is great. It's a great thing. I don't even know. Good luck to Greg naming this episode based on what the main conversation of it was. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just saying, again, anything we say that's controversial is just satire. You said what?
Maybe I can title it differently on Rumble as opposed to YouTube.
Yeah, and you could even make a different thumbnail if you probably wanted to. The thing with Rumble is you could have a lot of uncensored stuff on there, so you really don't need to worry as much about the censorship on there. So I mean, we can free ball on there. Everybody go follow the Rumble. That's my piece. Good night.
Oh yeah, I should probably start linking that.
So yeah. Is that it?
Oh, I was gonna say on the cane sugar thing, I don't know if you've been doing it. I've been eating lemons, like peeling them and just eating them. And it's pretty rough to get through if they're really sour, which they are. But what I do is I take a spoonful, only a spoonful, teaspoon of cane sugar with every like bite, or not bite, but like chunk of lemon, I guess, that I eat. And it eases it out. And it makes it taste just like the sugary candy you get at the movie theater. So if you got a fix for that, eat a lemon and put some sugar in your mouth.
Hispanics do that with passion fruit. because it's
They
very
do.
sour as well. They put sugar in there.
It works. It's pretty nice.
And I used to think it was something that you probably shouldn't eat often, but honestly, that's probably one of the best things they eat.
I don't think I even know what passion fruit is.
It's you open it and it has all those little like seedy kind of like pods of like liquid like around them.
So it's a pomegranate?
Almost. I mean, it just tastes different. But it's almost a similar concept when it comes to the fruit, yeah.
Pomegranates are better because they come from Persia.
Well, passion fruit tastes good.
Yeah, but how many gods of passion fruit are there?
I don't know. I would say 0 probably.
There's
Maybe
at least one goddess of pomegranates. All I'm saying.
I don't know. I will have to look it up and figure it out, but it tastes so great. So I will. Next time I get a passion fruit, I'm going to put so much cane sugar in that it's going to taste amazing. Yeah, that's all I got.
All right.
You know what? Last thing. Maybe we should open up those stalls at the Gucci store. I'm just saying.
Stalls. They're not even rooms now?
Well, they can be rooms, but closet, whatever. I named it as closet first. So whatever they are, room, stall, closet, just open some up and let's try it out. Let's do trials. Okay. So if we don't like it, we can just go back.
Maybe they can be like stalls, but there's like a glass, like noise proof thing. So you can see that there's a stall, but you can't hear anything.
Yeah, exactly. We could do like two-way mirror or what is it? No, I meant it's the one-way mirror, right? The one where yeah, exactly. Not two-way. Then you'd be able to see everything.
You see through out of it.
That's glass. Well, two-way mirror, would that be glass or would that mean that both sides reflect to each other? That would just mean you could see yourself and everybody else could see themselves, right? Two-way mirror. Or am I thinking of or is it literally just glass? I don't know. Look, I'm saying one-way mirror, but it's not on the side that people can see you. It's on the side that you can see everybody else.
Hold on. What is a two-way mirror? A mirror that can be used in the usual way from one side, but is transparent from the other side and can therefore be used to watch people without them knowing.
I thought that was a one-way mirror. Well, one-way mirror is just a mirror. Shit.
So you see, here's the thing.
So it was a two-way mirror.
Do you want to have a mirror in the room while you're doing the deed? I would prefer to look at the people outside.
That's what I just said.
So that would be a two-way mirror.
Yeah. Well, you want to look at the people outside?
I don't know. I don't want to look at what I'm doing.
Or you're just saying like you prefer looking at the people outside compared to looking at yourself?
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind looking at myself.
I mean, I'm not like ashamed of myself, but it's just kind of like,
I mean, I'm fine seeing what I'm doing while I'm doing it, and that I don't know. It's like you got a VR headset on while you're doing it. Almost. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's my piece. That's it. Good night. Take care and God bless.